Well, I'm feeling great and energized. How you feeling? Okay. If you're listening, Ashley has got sunglasses on and no moustache, clean shaven.
Clean shaven.
I gotta be honest, it's weird.
I know.
I actually think you made a mistake.
There's a story to this.
Okay.
Don't worry. I know that. Yeah. There's a story.
Well,
Yeah.
you're hungover. Which story do we start with?
Well, I mean, let's just let's take it from the top.
Take it from the top. Run me through, baby.
I'm very hungover. Very, very hungover. So yesterday I was having lunch with my mum and my auntie at my house. And I was rushing round and whatever. And then my cousin called my auntie, his mum, and he was on speaker, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just going to the UFC." I was like, "Oh, I'd love to go to the UFC." He was like, "Oh, I'll get you a ticket." I was like, "Oh, it's like notoriously difficult to get tickets for the UFC in London. I've always wanted to go. I'm a big UFC fan."
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm like, "Fucking yeah, let's go. I'm dying to go to the UFC." So we got there, met my cousins at the O2. They're very drunk, and they are white trash.
Okay.
So they're like embarrassing me on the train drunk, you know?
Oh,
like,
wow.
not like bad, but just, you know, just like looking at people on the train and being like, "Hey, I'll chat with you, mate, you all right?" Yeah, doing all that. And they're kind of big, like rough looking geezers.
If
so
I was on the train with you, would I have how would I have reacted?
I think you would have been nervous. Like, I think people are nervous around them.
Right,
Like, they've got that weird, like, they're lovely and they're friendly and they're having fun, but they've got the energy of like, one of these not gonna hit someone in a minute. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, right.
And they're not being aggressive, but they're just looking over at geezing it. And then, like, at one point, one of my cousins spilled a beer on someone, like, a little bit. And then the guy was like, "Oh, it's okay." And he was like, "No, he's trying to be a shout." He's doing all that kind of shit,
Right.
you know? So that was the whole thing. So then I'm like, I hadn't eaten all day. I had, like, a small thing for breakfast. And then I had fish and chips with my family, but I had, like, 2 bites of it because I was rushing to get to the UFC. So I've not eaten. Met them straight away, Sambuca shots and fucking, you know,
Sambuca shot.
pints and all kinds of alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
And I'm G'd up. I'm excited. I've never been to the UFC. I've wanted to go for the last 10 years. I've been desperate to go. Never been able to get a ticket. Get in the venue. We're sitting there. We watch one of the fights. But you know, you're drunk, so you're kind of just talking and shit. You're not really paying attention. And then it happened.
What? What happened?
I got sick in my seat.
No way.
Yeah, I
You
did.
threw up.
I threw up.
No,
brother.
you didn't.
I fucking did, Ollie. And I swear, I'm not the guy. You've been drunk with me a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I'm not the liability guy.
No.
I've never been that guy.
You're definitely not a liability guy.
I don't know what happened. If it was because I hadn't eaten or... But I literally, I remember watching one fight. I remember going to the toilet with my cousin and just like having a little waffle. And then I just don't remember any. I just remember I remember throwing up on the back of someone's head, basically.
No way.
Not on their head, but
Yeah.
like on the floor. And there was definitely splatters.
Right.
And I remember running up, like, to go to the toilet. And I remember getting into the toilet and throwing up all over the sink. And, everyone's like, "Oh, fuck it." But I'm like... When you're like that, you don't know you don't care about anything. There's no spatial awareness.
You're wankered and you're like, I need to get this vomit out of me.
It's your survival, isn't it? It's like, I don't care about anything else right now. There's no embarrassment because you're just like, fuck. So I'm getting sick. Then I got sat down by a bunch of the stewards and they're like, but obviously because I'm not like a drunk dickhead, I'm not going like, "Oh, I'm all right." I've sat down and I've just accepted my fate. I've gone, "Do you know what? I'm sorry, you lot, man. I'm embarrassed. This is muggy."
And were you fucked?
Oh,
were you like, I'm sorry.
See, as soon as I
fucked, you know? When I get really fucked, and I haven't been really fucked in a long time.
It's the worst.
I got really drunk that night from a few months ago when that thing happened.
I remember that,
Yeah, so that was like, I got blackout drunk. Other than that, I haven't been fucked up like that in maybe 10 years. But when I'm like at that level, I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
like
fucked.
a slut. You're like a little whore.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm aware of how fucked I am at that point. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm really sorry, guys. Just want you know, you're a really good friend. I'm really sorry. Thank you. And they're like, all right, man. Just have some more. I will. But I just want you to know, I'm sorry. I'm fucked up. I'm really fucked up right now. I'm really fucked up. And it's fine. Like, I'm okay. I'm actually fine. I'm just, I'm fucked. Oh my God, there's nothing worse.
but again, I don't really remember the in between. Like I don't remember, that's happened to me obviously a couple of times in my life. And when that has happened, you have that realization where you go, oh, I'm going to be sick. I don't feel great. You know, like it builds up a bit.
Yeah.
This was just like out of nowhere. I remember being in the toilet, walking back to the seat. And then I remember like POV vomit coming out my mouth.
Right.
And then, I remember throwing up in the toilet. And then I remember sitting down. And after that, I felt sweet. After I got sick, I was fine. I remember vividly, it was a black chick, a black guy, and like a Eastern European dude. And they were like, I was like, look, I'm sorry, man. I was talking straight because they were like, you seem fine, but our boss has said because you've been sick everywhere, we have to escort you out. And I'm going, do you know what? That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm the most reasonable drunk idiot of all time.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know what, guys? You're doing your job. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not easy out here. We're all just trying to live our lives. I'm like preaching to them now.
Yeah.
And then my cousin came over and he's like, oh, what's going on? I was like, I've got to leave, man. To be fair, I don't really have a leg to stand on. You know what I mean? So now I'm walking out, I'm just chatting to them.
But I feel like you could, even if you were being nice, I feel like if I was in that situation and I got it out of my system, I feel like if I was genuinely like fine, I would be like, guys, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I think I got a bit too fucked up, but I've, you know, for better or worse, I've got it out of my system. I am actually fine now.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind. I won't drink anymore, but I would love to watch the rest of the fight.
Well, I should have done that.
Yeah.
But I was just so defeated at that point
Right.
and embarrassed. Because it's not me. I'm like, I feel like to be a drunk idiot and not feel the shame of that, you have to be full drunk. You have to be fuck it, I'm having a laugh. I'm there like, I'm a mug, man. I'm there with my cousin and his girlfriend and my other cousin and his other girlfriend.
Yeah.
And just like, I've just mugged myself. That's how I felt. I've just mugged myself off. I'm just embarrassed. Like, what am I doing? So when they said we're going to have to ask you to leave, they were like, we'll check with our boss. I was like, no problem. And then they said, like, I think we're going to have to get you to leave. I was like, do you know what? I kind of want to go now anyway. Like, I just feel like a dickhead. So it's like, go on, walk out. So I'm getting fucking escorted out the O2 by a couple of people that work there, just having a chat with them. I've got sick all over my shoe.
Jesus.
And then I fucking just called my missus. I was like, I've mugged myself up. She's like, what's wrong, babe? What's wrong? I'm like, nah, I've just probably mugged myself up.
And she's being really sweet. Like, I'm guessing she's like, babe, it's okay. You're like, nah, I'm a fucking idiot.
Fucking idiot. But again, at this point, I feel proper. So, like, I remember that all clear as day. I remember being very like switched on.
So wait, was there? I'm guessing there was a title fight, like the title card.
I watched one fight.
Like the main card.
Yeah, I missed like 5 of the main fights.
You didn't even see like the undercard or anything. Nothing.
I saw one fight on the undercard.
Who was the main?
Leon Edwards, Sean Brady, which was I don't know how great the fight was, but it was still like And then there was another co-main event fight I was really excited about. And the worst thing is, I'm the biggest UFC fan out of all the people that were there, and I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, you love the UFC.
I love it, and I also fucking, the tickets were expensive as well.
Did you buy one or did they just give it to you?
They paid part, and I paid part.
So what did you pay?
I paid £100.
You paid £100?
Yeah, but that's super cheap. The ticket was $250.
Wow.
And normally they're about £500, but they got these off like
Is that even for like the cheap seats?
These were great seats.
Oh,
these were good seats. The cheap ones were $150 at the top, but they opted for the better seats because they
spent £100 to watch the first fight.
To watch one fight, and I didn't even watch it because I was talking to my cousin like, oh, I love you, you're the best, and then I didn't even. I've dreamed about going UFC for years. Finally get there, don't even watch a fight. Mugged myself off.
Wow.
Cunt.
Okay.
And then I'm going back there today again to watch Shane Gillis. So I hope I don't see the same people that walk me out because they're gonna be like, "Are you seriously back for more?"
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But so there's no bitch. Shane Gillis, like the fucking ultimate drinking comic, and I'm sipping a nice lemon iced tea in there today. I'm not drinking for shit.
Yeah. Okay. So you got fucked up. And so what's the deal with the moustache? Because you said you were going to cut it off, but you haven't just cut the moustache off. You've cut off all your facial hair. You're fully clean shaven, and it's bugging me.
I don't like it.
Look really. I feel really uncomfortable about how you look right now. It feels weird. You're much less attractive.
I agree with you.
Much less attractive.
I'm very ugly right now. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just said it. Holly was like, "I like it. You got such a nice," and I was like, "Don't lie to me, bitch." Okay. No. I look like a rug salesman now. I look like a real, like poor Egyptian man.
Take the sunglasses off for a sec.
Oh God.
because I want to get a full. Because I haven't seen the visual since. Yeah, it's not great.
It's not good.
Do you know what? If you had like shorter hair, it might look all right, but
Yeah,
it doesn't.
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you got the Arabic mop on the top of your head with the curls.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of at least.
I need a stubble.
You need a stubble
if I
or
get
at least
a good little long stubble going, I'll look good again.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not pretty.
It's not good.
But yeah, so the fucking mustache thing, right? So this is how this unfolded, right? So I've said this to you before. I think I don't know if I said it on the pod. Since I had the tash, everyone in the world that I meet, like that out of my inner circle, they love it. I get compliments at gigs all the time. Comics that I haven't seen in a while, they're like, dude, Tash is sick.
Right.
Like everyone.
Okay.
And I'm shocked by that because I think Tash is a nonce a little bit, but I'm like, oh, people like it. My family and my friends, because they're like, again, white trash, and they're like, here's the thing about white trash people you need to understand. They don't like change.
Yeah.
That's why they don't like immigration, okay? Because they want things to stay the same. If you do something out of the ordinary in that space, you're weird. Like if you try and be a fucking singer or try and start a business, or you're like, what do you think you owe? What, you fucking Mr. Mustache now? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Can vouch for that.
Yeah. So it's like you don't do things like that. So since I've had the tash, every time I speak to my family, my mum's like, I hate it. My aunties, I picked up my auntie yesterday. Now here's the thing about my auntie. She is a tad racist, okay? Just a touch, in a good way, you know, like friendly. She's old school. She's not racist. That's a joke, but she's old
it's not
school
a joke.
lady.
Don't back out of it.
Don't
back out of it. Stand on your ground.
She's EDL. No, she's not. No, but she's old school. Do you know what I mean? She's
the leader of the BNP.
Yeah. She's old school, which is slang for fucking racist, you know. But she so I got in. I picked her up in the car. She's like, you need to get that thing off your face. She's like, you look like such an Arab. I was like, okay, wow.
And you're like, what happens if you're like, I am,
yeah, I know.
I'm literally
I know. And then my mum's like, yeah, it's true. And I'm like, yeah, you fucked an Egyptian man. You are the reason I look like this. So that's the whole thing. But she's got my auntie's like genuinely fuming about it. She's like, this is what she said. She was like, that thing is a living disgrace. She hates it.
Fuck off.
Said I look like Borat. She hates the trash.
Are you fucking serious?
Swear to God, brother. They hate. I'm telling you, white trash don't like change.
A living disgrace.
Yes. Anything.
For having a moustache.
Anything that you do that's like, because it's like, who do you think you are? What you think? Oh, you missed the fucking mustache now, or your baggy trousers. You know what I mean? It's like they think you're like you're trying to like be better than them or something. You know? So she's fuming about it. Then I see my cousins who are her sons, so they feel the same. Yeah. And the whole time we're drinking, they're like, that's terrible. What are you doing with that? Da, 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 da. And I'm standing strong, brother. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care. And you know what? Now that you're saying that, I'm gonna grow it longer. Yeah. And I'm gonna twist it in the ends like an Italian man. I'm like, it's making me rock hard. Yeah. I like the backlash, you know? So we get back to my cousin's house after the UFC, after I've been sick everywhere. I waited outside for them for fucking 45 minutes for the next fight to finish, right? We get in a cab home, back to his gaff. We're sitting there, and both of them sit down. And these are big geezers, strong, like gym goers, quite hard geezers. And they both sat down. They looked at me. They were like, you know what? I've had enough. I was like, what do you mean? Is that we've had enough? Pinned me down.
No.
Shaved the tash.
No.
Pinned me down.
This was last night after the fight?
Last night. No. I've got sick all over myself. They pinned me down and shaved the tash, brother.
How many of them?
2.
They pinned you down?
2. They pinned
Were
me
you
down.
like resisting? Were you like, get the fuck off? Nah, fuck off. What are you doing?
Well, here's the thing. I bear in mind, I'm a bit of a defeated man at this point. I've had a long night. I've just been in an hour and a half cab ride or so, and I'm fucked. I resisted for a moment. But there's only certain point. At a certain point, when you're getting raped, you have to just say, you know what? I'm fighting a losing battle here. You know, like
that's so dark.
I'm like,
that's so dark.
They're both pinning me down, and I'm trying to do like the bench press. I'm like, get off me! I'm trying, but they're both big. They're both bigger than me. They're big, strong geezers. And at a certain point, I was like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
So they without my consent, they shaved off the tash, and now look at me. I've been molested facially.
Yeah. You look back. So did they shave everything off, or did they shave the tash and then you were like, well, I have to now shave everything?
They
else
shaved the tash, and then they kind of like. I woke up this morning with sick on myself and patches of hair on my face, and I was just like, I'm never drinking again, man. But that's obviously not true.
Obviously not true. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a fucked up night.
Yeah, because even the shave is a bad shave. Like the hair on under your chin is like a bit grown out, but then the hair on your face is fully shaved. They've done a real botched job of that. I mean, you've tightened it, but you've done a real botched job of that as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't really care about anything today.
That's fair.
I don't care.
I'm so glad we're on the show.
About anything. I don't care. But yeah, man, so that's my story.
Wow.
That's my story, brother.
That's pretty egregious.
Yeah, man. Fucking fuming.
Well, I've been on the exact opposite wave.
Go on.
I've been healthy, dude. I've turned a corner.
Oh, here we go.
I've turned a corner, and I've been eating really healthy. I've been doing like push-ups and squats every day just to get some physical activity going. I'm working up from nothing, because basically the philosophy was about like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, right, I need to fucking get in shape, because I'm just like, I'm eating whatever I want, because I'm saying like, well, I'm busy and stressed, I'm working really hard, so I can, the classic thing. And I'm getting this fucking belly now.
But I saw you with your top off the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was not pretty.
Yeah, the belly's not great.
Yeah, and you know what? You got a little bit of a hairy belly. Like, not mad hair, but that always doesn't look good on a flabby belly. And
yeah.
Just the fucking face and the long hair.
Well, no, the face and the long hair.
You know, all of that stuff. I mean, I'm so self-conscious about my face that I can't even do them jokes right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm so...
You shouldn't, right?
I'm so ugly.
Hey, Pop, why are you calling me Mr. Kettle Black? Why are you doing that?
Oh, God, I wish it was still COVID so I could put a mask on.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, I know.
I wish you would as well.
So what's the regimen?
Well, basically, I thought, like you have to sometimes kind of get in the thing where you really want to change. And I was like, I kind of want to change, but I'm like, the idea of just going to the gym again or starting to whatever is too big of a mountain for me to face right now. And and I know that if I do that, I'm not going to do it. So I was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at the absolute ground zero, because I'm doing nothing. So I was like, right, I'm just going to make sure every day I'm just going to do a push-up. And if I tell myself I'm going to do one, the hardest thing is mentally getting ready to do it. But if I tell myself all I've got to do today is do one push-up. Yeah. And on the first like day or two, I did one push-up. But then what happens is when you're down there, like you never actually do one, because you do one and you're like, all right, well, I've done one. I've done the hard part. Let me see if I can do a few more, just to, be a bit less shit. So I do a few more.
Of course.
So then I get better. So now I'm doing like 15. And then my mate was like, just throw some squats in there as well. And he was like, all you need to worry about is just like, he's like, every morning when you wake up, like Bruce Wayne style in Batman Begins, he's just like, when you wake up, just fucking do some push-ups and do some squats. And he's like, just do that every day. And that's a great start. That's way better than just doing nothing.
Yeah, of course.
So I've just been doing that.
You're also at home a lot of time, like during the day. You don't go into an office on that, and so you should be cranking them every time you get like a 5 minutes where you're like, what am I don't really have anything to do right now. Just bang out 10 push-ups, 10 squats.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
You do that throughout the day. You do that 10, 20 times. You're talking about, fucking hundreds of push-ups and squats.
Yeah. I found a slightly different program that I think I'm more curious to try, which is similar. But the long story short of it is it's 3 times a week, 10 minutes each time, and that's it. And it was actually, it's a really cool video. I saw I love finding YouTube channels of random people. And it was like this old guy, and he's like 73 or something, and he's like in great shape. And he was like, this was me, like when I was 65 or whatever. And this is me now. And he's like, all I do is 3 times a week, 10 minutes, and that sorts it out. Yeah. And he was like, on like Mondays, I do push-ups and I do 3 sets to failure. That's it. Yeah. And I mean to absolute failure. But he's like, that takes maybe 7.5, 8 minutes. Yeah. And he's like, I don't know, because he hasn't put out what the other 2 days are yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be like squats and then dips or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so something like that where I'm just like, I'm not trying to get fucking, super swole. And I'm just trying to put a bit more muscle on and lose some of the fat. Yeah. And just be in decent
What's the diet
shape.
like?
Diet now is solid. I'm literally just eating. I'm doing kind of carnivore, so I'm just eating like it's a lot of mincemeat, steaks, eggs, salt, and then if I have cravings, then I have dark chocolate. Because my theory is I was having ice cream and biscuits and shit like every night, and so I'm like, well, dark chocolate a little bit is actually quite good for you, but it's like if I have antioxidants, but it's like if I get a craving, it's better. Like in the worst case, let's say I eat a whole bar of dark chocolate, which I probably wouldn't because it's quite moreish. It's quite rich. Yeah. So I probably wouldn't. But in the worst case, it's better to eat a whole bar of dark chocolate than eat a whole tub of Ben and Jerry's. Yeah. So it's all about finding like little wins. So so pretty much I eat meat, eggs, and then if I get hungry throughout the day, beef jerky, and then a bit of dark chocolate maybe in the evening.
Nice.
After a meal.
Are you having veggies with a?
I'm not at the moment. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm also not that fussed about it right now. I'm kind of curious to try a bit more carnivore and just see how I feel because I've heard so many great things about it.
It's an elimination diet as well.
It is basically. That's what carnivore is. It's basically an extreme elimination diet.
Yeah.
But I feel good. My energy's better. And it's only been like, a week, half a week even. So I'm just trying to stay disciplined with it. But actually, it's funny, the push-ups and the squats, if anyone is listening and you're like out of shape and doing no exercise, even just doing one push-up and one squat when you wake up in the morning, if you're doing no exercise, like it's amazing how now I'm only doing 10, 15 push-ups and 20, 30 squats. But like when I finish, I've got a bit of an endorphin rush. I'm a little bit out of breath and I'm like, But I feel now immediately I've started my day in a way where I'm like, I feel less inclined to be a piece of shit for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like I'm less inclined to go and binge something or scratch my bollocks or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah.
So 100%. But that's why I like to go to the gym in the morning before work, because even just even just having a cigarette after you've been to the gym or you worked out just feels wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like
100%
eating chocolate or whatever. It's like it just feels wrong because you feel like you've done something to be healthy, and then anything that's not healthy is like it feels more sinister.
Yeah.
Than if you're just always doing unhealthy shit,
So I was talking to my mate. He's like a real fitness guy, and he was like, "Yeah, if you just continue what you're doing with eating mostly like a lot of lean meat, not even
if you eat
fatty meat, a lot of eating a lot of
protein based. If you base your meals around protein, like 90% of the time, it actually doesn't. I track my calories,
right?
But you don't need to. Yeah. Like I would always advise people to do it for a month or something, because once you've done it for a month, you
get an idea of roughly what everything
now
is.
I know, like, if I don't track my calories for a week, I know roughly where I'm sitting, because I just understand, like, okay, well, I had, chicken and broccoli for lunch, and that's probably about, 300 calories, probably maybe 400 with about 35 grams of protein. So you kind of get a gauge. Yeah. But if you're basing most of your meals around protein and you're limiting, like, processed sugary snacks and that, you're 90% of the time going to be golden. And if you're not, it's often like things people don't account for is that they'll fucking put a big glug of like olive oil in their food before they cook, and it's like that's 300 calories. You might not even be thinking about that. You're not even tracking that in your mind. You're like, I ate really healthy today, but you had 2 meals with 300 calories of fucking olive oil
in the pan.
Yeah.
What, even just using it to cook in the pan?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And people, this is honestly one of the, like, a lot of my friends will come to me for like nutrition and fitness advice, because I obviously have like studied a lot of it and I got like a basic understanding. And every time I get my boys to like track their food, I'll be like, what have you had today? And they're like, no. Okay, all right. Well, what, you said you had toast. Did you track the butter? No, I just put a slut. Okay, well, that butter was 200 calories.
Really?
Butter's high. It's fats. Anything fats is super high calorie.
Are avocados high?
Avocados are extremely high in calorie, considering the fact they're green and they look and taste very healthy.
Yeah,
they're high in calories.
How many calories in avocado?
Do you know what? I actually don't know, but it'll be high. How about this guess?
150. Because it's a vegetable. That doesn't seem that high. 150 doesn't seem that high.
Avocado calorie roughly. Okay.
I'm gonna guess 100.
322.
322?
It's a fat, brother. It's a fat.
Wow.
So, but this is what I'm saying. This is the people go, I had avocado toast, and it's like, right, avocado, butter, That's already, potentially 400 or 500 calories on top of the bread that you have.
Yeah.
So you could look at that meal and be like, that's super healthy. It's avocado and bread, but it's like, that is 700-800 calories.
Yeah.
Again, olive oil, like I always use the 1 cow spray, which is like it's like rapeseed oil, and that's not good. But
yeah, I don't want to use.
It's not great, but you just have to be conscious of how much you use. Because I did it all the time when I was first like losing weight. I would just olive oil, bang it in a pan, and then I watched a couple of videos of like you have to make sure. Another thing, people don't track condiments like ketchup or mayo. People never track that. That could be 100, 200 calories, and that shit adds up.
Wow, that's so crazy.
When I first started like really learning about this stuff, I was like confused because I was like, I eat really healthy and I'm not losing weight.
Yeah.
And then you track your olive oil, your butter, your ketchup, your mayo, your little things. Like again, you weigh your avocado because you go, an avocado, yeah, it's probably. And I guarantee you'd be shocked at how many like hidden calories there are.
Yeah.
I mean, even like drinks. You're not really a drink guy in terms of like Coke or like
I don't
milky coffee, but even that. Like people don't really track drinks, so you have to be.
Another thing as well, like this is obvious, but like alcohol.
Oh.
Because you know what's crazy as well? I think a big part of the belly has come from the fact that whenever I'm at like a club, they're just giving me free pint after free pint.
Yeah. So
and so sometimes you go do a show, you're doing like 2-3 shows in a night.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, I'm at the club for like 4 or 5 hours. You might sink like 5 pints.
Yeah, you don't even want to know how much that would be.
How many calories in a pint roughly?
200 to 300 easy.
Fucking hell.
Easy. So you think if you have 5 of those,
that's 1,500.
That's just under your like daily intake if you're trying to lose weight as like a average man. Average man trying to lose weight should be about 2,000 probably to be in a deficit. Yeah. So you've basically done, and then let's say because I've done this a bunch of times. You eat super healthy all day, and a thing I use which is really good is I do calorie backloading because I like to eat unhealthy at night. That's when I eat. Yeah. So I won't eat breakfast. I'll have like an apple maybe in the morning and a black coffee, which is like 80 calories in total. And then for lunch I'll have like literally like just chicken skewers. Like I'll just make chicken skewers, nothing else. So that would be like 60 grams of protein, 400 calories. So then that means when I get to the end of the day, I've still got like 1,600 calories left. Right. To have a big dinner and fuck about. Yeah. But what people will often do is they'll eat really healthy all day. They'll eat, let's say, 1,700 calories. Their target is 2,000. You go and have 5 pints. Yeah. Now you're like 1,000 over. Yeah. Probably more, close to 1,200 over. And then also, what happens at the end of the night when you've had a few pints? Every time.
You get like a kebab or something.
McDonald's or a kebab or something. And that's another 2,000 calories. So, and then this is the thing. Now at this point, this is what people think calorie daily intake. It's your weekly intake, which then turns into your monthly intake. So it's like, if you eat at a 500 calorie deficit for 7 days, that is, what does that work out to? 500 times 7 is 3,500. So let's say you need to be in a weekly deficit of 3,500 under your maintenance, which is obviously the level of when you're burning, burning to what you exert or whatever. So let's say
if you do then one night out where you drink 5 pints and that's 1,500, and then you go to McDonald's and that's 2,000. That's your weekly calorie surplus just wiped out in one night.
Yeah. So now you're back at maintenance, or you're even on a surplus.
See, I really don't. This is really useful to know. I don't want to be in a situation. I don't want to count calories in general.
It's long.
It is long, and I want to. I think I want to just be able to be like, okay, I know roughly what I want to eat, and what I should eat and what I shouldn't, and then kind of just have a rough idea of that. And I know, for example, that if I have mostly red meat and salt, a bit of fruit, not too much, but a bit of fruit, and then some greens, I'll be great.
Oh, easy.
I'll be great. And the fat, when he was like, the fat will just, I said that to my mate, and he was like, the fat will just melt off you if you're doing that. But then I, like, for example, every Monday I get Domino's. And like, I want to be able to still do that,
Do you want me to give you the trick?
Yeah.
I've got a fucking phenomenal trick for you.
Because normally on a Monday when I get Domino's, so I before you tell me the trick, I was talking to my missus about this the other night, and I was like talking about all this healthy stuff, and she's like, yeah, I'm super down for that. And I was like, yeah. Normally what I do on Mondays is I get pizza for me and my girl, and I'll basically get a large Domino's with a stuffed crust and whatever and the dips and everything, and then I'll manage to get through maybe 3/4 of it, and then I'll put the last like 3 or 4 slices in the fridge, and then I'll have that tomorrow. But then the problem is that then I said to her, I was like, then I end up eating badly 2 days a week because I'm still having 3 slices of Domino's the next day.
Yeah.
So I said one thing I think that will immediately help is if I just start ordering mediums. And
Yeah.
that gives me massive anxiety because I'm like, what if I don't have enough food and it's my fun meal and I don't have enough food?
Yeah.
But I never finish a large anyway. So if I get a medium, that's immediately way less.
Yeah.
And then, but go on.
Right. So here's my trick here.
The trick is you eat it and then you throw it up.
Yeah. You get drunk in the O2 and you throw up on someone's head.
Yeah.
No, here's the trick, right? I swear to God, this changed my life. Because I'm like you, I like to pig out. I love to pig out.
I love a binge.
So here's my thing. And this also, by the way, for all the degenerates out there, this also works for drinking. If you know you're going to be drinking, like, for example, if I was prepared yesterday, then here's my fucking go-to. There's a couple. So I would typically fast. If I was going out, like, let's say I was going heavy night, I know I'm going to be on the beers. I know I'm going to be eating at McDonald's at the end of the night. I would typically fast for the majority of the morning, which I do normally anyway. Then lunchtime, I'd have like a really big, like, voluminous salad. Like, I'd have a lot of greens, a lot of like high volume, low calorie stuff. And just I'd put like 2 chicken breasts in there. So I'm hitting my protein intake. I'm getting like 100 grams of protein from the 2 chicken breasts. And then I'm also, only eating probably 500 calories, but I'm having a big meal. So I feel stuffed. That way, I've still got, let's say, 1,500 calories left for the day. And then you can just go and fucking pig out on the beers. You can pig out on the McDonald's, and you're only going to be in a smaller surplus.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but this is the main trick. This is for you now.
Okay.
So Monday night, your Domino's
Because as you were
night.
saying that, I was like, I'm not going to make a salad.
No, I know.
I'm not going to do that.
I know. So this is the trick.
Okay.
Right. So Monday, and again, I know you don't want to, but you might have to just. I mean, you don't have to track it, but it would make it more like accurate.
Okay.
But this is the thing. So Monday is your pig day.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Well, it's my pig meal.
Pig meal. Yeah.
I don't even pig the whole.
Yeah.
Because there is a difference, as you know, between a cheat meal and a cheat day.
Of course. But a Domino's will fuck your whole shit up. A stuffed crust Domino. What do you get? A pepperoni.
Pepperoni passion. Shall I Google the calories of it?
I know what the calories are going to be.
Okay. You guess.
I'm gonna get okay. You guess and I'll guess. I'm gonna say this is a large stuffed crust American pepperoni.
Pepperoni passion. Yeah. I'm gonna guess 2,500.
Just in a pizza.
I'm saying just I mean the dip as well.
Yeah, but you don't get sides or anything. You just have the pizza.
I just have the pizza.
Okay, I'm gonna say. God, yeah, I'd probably maybe say 1,800 or something like that. But again, that's a lot for one meal.
Yeah, but that's all I eat on a Monday.
You don't have anything else?
No, I don't eat on Mondays.
Nothing else?
Nothing else. Dude, don't forget, I did intermittent fasting for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
At one point, I was doing 1 meal a day for about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
So I'm used to the idea of not eating throughout the day is not foreign to me. That's why, side note, me and my girl were talking about this the other day. Diesel's obviously doing Ramadan right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we were laughing how like Diesel will call me and I'll be like, mate, can we go from here to here? And he's like, I can't do that. I'm breaking my fast at 6 or whatever. And I'm like, well, let's just get that done. Then we'll break your fast at 7. And he's like, I can't do that. I've been fasting all day. And I'm like, yeah, you've been fasting for like, you've been awake for like what, 10 hours? Like you can survive. Like you're not going to die. Like,
yeah, but I will say,
yeah,
they're not drinking water as well.
Yeah,
that makes it that because I always think I'm like I've done a couple of 3-day fasts, light work. Right. But I'm drinking water though. Do you know what I mean? No water is brazy. That changes.
Oh yeah,
the
they don't do water.
The no water is
actually, you know what?
big
That's fair.
change.
That's true. That's true. The no water. I forgot about the no water. That's a fair point. Actually.
Yeah, I'm saying 1,800 on this Domino's. I'm thinking with the dips. I'm thinking about 1,800.
I'm guessing 2,500, but
it could be though because I don't get the stuffed crust. I know a normal large margarita. Is like 1,200. So with the pepperoni and the stuffed crust and the fucking God, that could be like
the internet's not working.
Yeah, I'll get it up on the Domino's app. That's how we can check. But yeah.
Oh, because I had the app, but I wasn't sure if
it will show it on the app. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It will definitely show it.
I don't know. This could be really boring.
Yeah, I know.
They might find it interesting. I don't know.
I'm interested. Right, here we go. You ready?
Interested. Yeah, go on.
Pepperoni passion. Classic crust.
Stuffed crust.
Oh, where are we? 3,074 calories, brother.
Oh,
that's fucking nuts.
I mean, to be fair, I eat 3 quarters. Can you Google what the medium is?
What do you mean?
Same thing, but medium, not large. Because that's what I'm going to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
From tomorrow onwards, I'm going to be doing the medium, not the large.
2254. So you're still just over your maintenance, but it's not too bad.
But also, I'm 6'2". So I feel like my maintenance might be closer to 2,500.
How much you weigh, do you know?
Right now, I weigh like, I think 85. But my standard, when I'm like in all right shape, my standard weight is maybe 75.
Well, by the way, the deficit is different, isn't it? Like you can have different levels of deficit. I mean, really, to lose significant weight like regularly, you want to be 300 to 500 under your maintenance. So if your maintenance is, I mean,
what about okay? Wait, this is so interesting now. So put it back up. So basically, large pepperoni passion with stuffed crust is 3,070 something.
Yeah.
That's not including the dip as well.
That's not including the dip, brother.
Okay. So medium. So medium with stuffed crust is what, 2,200 something. Take out the stuffed crust. So it's 22.
That is classic crust is 832.
So it's an extra 150 calories for the stuffed crust.
Why is this coming up? Wait, one sec. Yeah. Okay.
So there's a difference between the stuffed crust and regular, just 150 calories.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's fuck all.
But also,
that's not worth sacrificing.
Do you know what I do when I'm on when I want to like fucking have a Domino's, but I go Italian style because the difference between regular and Italian style is like 250 or something. Italian style.
Yeah, my girl gets Italian style, but I like the Domino's standard.
No, I hear you. I
don't want it thin and shit. There's not enough bread. There's not enough dough to topping ratio.
See, for me, there's some healthy swaps that are just not worth it. Yeah. And some of them are. That's not so bad to me where it's like, oh, it's not. I find that enjoyable enough to justify it.
See, I don't like it because when I have a thin crust, I feel like it's too much like a gourmet artisan kind of pizza.
You want a dirty.
I want a dirty fucking.
Right, so here's my trick, right, for you. It's patterned up now. Okay. Right. Go. So you track your calories. I'll help you with this stuff. I'm really knowledgeable about this stuff, so I'll help you with this stuff. We'll figure out your maintenance. Okay. I'll get you to track your calories for 1 week, just so you can get a gauge on roughly how much. I don't want to track my calories. I know you don't, but just to get a gauge. Okay. Let's say your maintenance is 26. Yeah. And we want you on a 400 deficit roughly. So let's put you at like 22, for example, just to lose. You'll probably lose about, I'd say probably maybe 0.3 to 0.5 kg a week at that rate. Okay. With that deficit, right? Okay. If you're consistent. So
I lose how much every week, sorry?
Probably about 0.3 to 0.5 kg. So about half a kilo a week.
What if I want to like speed that motherfucker up?
Oh, right now I'm on like a 600 deficit and I'm regularly losing a kilogram a week.
Okay, yeah. Get me on that, baby.
We can do that. We can do that. So yours will probably be about 2,000-ish then. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
basically, all I eat is mincemeat, steak, eggs.
You should be golden then. You should be golden. So here's the trick, right? This is what you do, and this is what I do whenever I wasn't being a piece of shit and I was really on my shit. Like before I went on holiday and I got in really good shape. I'd go, right, Saturday is my mate's birthday. I know I'm going out. Bosh. For you, the case, Monday, I know I'm having a Domino's call. What you do is your maintenance is the number you're trying to hit for your deficit is 2,000. Tuesday to Sunday, you eat at 1,800. Right. Because then that gives you an extra 1,000 calories to go over to still hit that weekly number. So then on Monday, you go stuffed crust, large. Give me it all. Give me the big dip.
Oh, wait. Also, fuck, I forgot. Go back on it.
Oh, fuck. Well, here we go. What would you get? Cookies or something?
I get a tub of Ben & Jerry's.
Oh, you don't even want to know. What flavor? Because this just shows my eating disorder. I bet I know.
Fish food.
I'm gonna say 1348
for the tub of fish. For
the tub, I'm gonna say.
Bearing in mind, I eat I probably about half a tub.
Brother, I used to when I was younger, I was a Pizza Hut kid. I'm obviously Domino's now, but when I was younger, it was Pizza Hut.
Same.
Large deep dish pepperoni. Yeah. Feast. Yeah. Garlic bread with cheese. Yeah. Barbecue wings. Wow. Tub of ice cream. Whoa. On my own, brother. Jesus. On my own. And I wasn't even that. I don't know how I wasn't fat.
Well, it's because you're young. I could do that. I remember when I was a teenager. Dude. We used to get fucking so baked. And I remember I just never put on fat. And I remember once me and a bunch of my mates got really, really fucking blazed. And we went to McDonald's. And we got there. And I used to get this thing called the BCB. Yeah. So I basically get like a plain double cheeseburger, open it up in the middle, then get a mayo chicken, put it inside. And then I would get like another burger on the side of it. And I remember once we went to McDonald's, there were like 7 of us. And there's this guy I knew called Matthew. And he was a bit more of a stocky guy. Like he wasn't fat, but he was like stocky. Yeah. And I remember we went to McDonald's after we were all baked and he was like sitting there like not ordering anything. And I sat down, I had 7 burgers. And I'm sitting in front of him and I'm unwrapping all of my 7 burgers. And he was looking at me and he was like, fucking hell. And I was like, what? And he's like, I hate you so much. And I was like, why? And he's like, because if I ate that you're eating right now, tomorrow I would be fucking so fat. And I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't really affect me at all.
Oh,
But
mate.
it does now because
It
life
fucking
catches
does.
up with you kids.
Right.
So just go on the app. It's on the Domino's app, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't showing on the ice cream for some reason.
Oh, well, yeah, fish food. There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
the calories.
It's not showing. Oh, wait, here, calories information. Here we go. Okay. Scooby boop bap boo. Where is it? What's going on here? Where is this? Yeah, I'm gonna. What did I say? I think I said 14 something. 14.
You said 1400 or something. Ingredients.
Dietary certification. Oh, here we go. Is this gonna be it? Yeah, per 100 mil. But how many's in the?
I'll run the numbers. I'll get the calculator.
I think it's like a 400 and something tub. Is it not? Wait, it was just on the Domino's. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Just press done. Find it per 100 mil. What's that?
Right, so it's 465, right?
Okay.
So 4.65 this is going to be.
Okay.
And it
Times?
is 100 mil, 232 times 4.65.
1,000.
Oh, shit.
1,078.
Okay, fair.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because I know cookie dough is like 1,054 or something. I've
Right,
checked this
okay.
up a load of times.
Yeah, you got a problem, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
So
but
1,078. Let's say I'm eating.
even if you eat half of that.
Yeah, okay. Divide that by 2, and then plus the fucking Domino's
Yeah.
thing. You're talking 3,600 calories.
But if you take off 1,000 for the 200 deficit you eat in the remainder of the week, now you're at 2,600.
Yeah.
So you're eating at your maintenance 1 day a week.
Yeah. And deficits.
And
6 days a
deficits
week.
and the rest. So you're still losing weight.
Wow.
That's my trick, man. I'm telling you.
What
I
about
fucking
the
live
fact
by
I
that.
spoke to Dima about this, crazy man Dima that we
Yeah.
had on the pod.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, when I was telling him about fasting and stuff, because I was eating 1 meal a day, and he
Yeah.
was like, brother, if you do that, you're not gonna lose weight because your body is going to wait until they get food, and then it's gonna harbor it and save it because they don't know when they're getting food again.
Yeah.
Is there any merit to that?
That sounds like some Bulgarian bullshit, if you ask me. No, I think Dima is one of those guys, though. Dima's just like an old school geezer. He's just like, you eat protein, you go to the gym, you lift weight.
Yeah.
He's just that school of thought.
Yeah.
I'm more the little nerd that's like, oh, but what about the calories, you know?
Yeah.
So
I'd rather be that guy than you.
of course, 100%. And who am I?
But that's why I'm
who
like-
am I to say that Dima's wrong? He's
Yeah.
way better shape than me, but I've read the studies. You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the studies say
You read, brother.
you
gay, brother.
Yeah. But also there is merit to simplifying shit and just go to the gym, eat protein, and don't fuck about, and you get there. You know.
Yeah.
But try that. Honestly, that I swear that's when I was going on holiday, I got in really good shape. I got down to like fucking maybe 12% body fat or something, 10% body fat, which is pretty low. I mean, it's not shredded, but it's low for
10%
me.
is quite low.
Yeah, it's low. But definitely the lowest I've ever been, and I swore by that. I would do that, and then I would also fast for 24 hours from Sunday night to Monday night, and then with that strategy, I used to pig out on the weekends, and I lost 1 kilogram a week consistently for like 5-6 weeks.
Wow. All right.
Dropping
Well,
some
that's what I'm gonna
knowledge
do.
on you. Yeah, do it, man.
I haven't
Honestly.
weighed myself, to be fair. I need to weigh
I
myself.
got scales here. We'll do it.
Okay, sweet.
We'll do it, brother.
Um,
I'm down from the last 4 weeks. I was 82, and now I'm 75.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
In the last 2 weeks?
No. Did I say 2 weeks?
I think so.
I thought I meant 5. Like it's 5 or 6. I've got it on my
Right.
phone, but I think 5 or 6 weeks. I'm down about 5 to 6 or 7 kilos.
That's 7 kilos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's bro. I'm telling you, man. If you stay
But this
in
is the
that,
thing. I want to keep it nice. I want to like obviously I'll do that for the first week. I'll figure out like the calories.
Yeah.
Because I eat the same things. So once
Yeah.
I figure it out, then I'll know.
yeah, it's easy. Yeah.
So I'll do that. But in general, I want to be in a state where I'm like, because I think I was speaking to someone and they were like, and they're also super fitnessy and they've done all the counting calories thing
Yeah.
and stuff. But they're like, it gets to a point where you want to also just live your life and you don't want to be
100%.
stressed out and be like,
100%.
you're out for dinner with your girl and
Yeah.
you're like, oh fuck, the waiter just poured some extra oil on my
Yeah.
pizza. Does that mean okay? She
100%.
gave me a bite of her linguine. Does that mean that, you know?
100%.
You want to be able to be like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna get, you know. So I think if you just I'm a big believer in pretty much everything in life. I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
I think that is the best approach
Balance.
to life, to most things. Balance, but the 80-20, you were the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, you do something 80% of the time, then the 20% the remaining 20% is less important, essentially.
Yeah, but it's sort of like if you do the 20% of something, you
Yeah.
get 80% of the results.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, the 20% that gives you 80% of the results in like investing, for example, is like the 20% of the knowledge and work is basically just don't get into debt or get out of debt as quick as you can if you are in debt.
Yeah.
Max out your tax incentivized accounts, like your tax incentivized investment accounts, like a Roth IRA, or this is disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial expert. Consult your financial advisor, blah, 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 blah. But don't go into debt or get out of debt as quick as you can.
Yeah.
Max out your tax account. So if you're in America, like a 401k or a Roth IRA, or in the UK, we have ISAs.
Yeah.
So max out like a stocks and shares ISA. And then have a fucking emergency fund that covers like 6 months of your outgoings, so that if anything, hits shit creek, hits shit creek, you know that you're covered. And then just basically dollar cost average into the S&P 500 and maybe 10% exposure to like Bitcoin or gold as like a nice little hedge. And that's it. That's all the info you need. You'll be fine.
I don't know what you just said, bruv. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so this is now my nutrition.
No,
Can
I just say you did was ISIS and stocks and shit. I don't know any of this.
Okay,
stuff.
well now
I'm a scumbag.
Okay,
I'm in debt and I don't have a fucking emergency fund.
Yeah.
I'm not.
My emergency fund is a rope in my drawer. Hey, you see that stool sitting in the corner? That's my emergency
That's the insurance
fund.
policy right there, brother. Yeah. Go
so, okay. Well, so look, this is actually quite cool.
Educate
this
me.
episode, we both got into our special interests. So for you,
Yes.
it's nutrition. For me, it's finance. So
Educate
So
me.
all the basic shit that you just said, but you're like, it's actually really simple and
Yeah.
it seems really overwhelming. But you're like, actually, if you just make sure you're in deficit X amount of time, then on this day you can do what you want.
Yeah.
This stuff has really high, shit, so avoid it. This stuff is really good. It's the same kind of principle just in finance, the exact same thing. So all the stuff that you just said to me was 80-20 for fitness. And so, okay, so I'll do it the same way around. So what's the starting question that you have? Like, what do you actually want to know?
Help me.
Okay.
Help me.
So
What do I do, man?
So in the same way that you said, like, you're not a personal trainer,
Yeah.
right? And you're not like a nutritionist or anything, but you've read up on and you've been knowledgeable on fitness for like years.
Just for experience and
For
stuff,
experience, right. That's been me with finance.
Yeah.
So I'm a massive finance nerd and I've spent years. I used to pick my own individual stocks. I had a pretty good return actually too,
Nice.
back in the day. But anyway, long story short, I've been interested in investing in finance, money management, all that kind of stuff for like years. I just find it really interesting. It's probably the tism. So what's the starting thing that you want to understand based on everything I just said?
Yeah, just what okay, I'll tell you my situation. And
Sure.
Okay, so I am fucked, brother. No. I don't have like big debt, but I've got fucking £100 on a credit card that I've had for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like I pay it off and then I use it again when whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not nothing major.
Yeah.
I probably got like £100 on like a Very account, like one of those catalog things for a pair of headphones or something I bought a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So I'm not in like debt, but
Yeah.
I have debt.
Okay.
I don't have it. I don't have any savings accounts. I have a savings account, a regular savings account.
Okay.
I don't have any money in it at the minute because your boy's broke.
Okay.
But I've had money in there in the past. I think the most I ever had put away was like, just over 5-6 grand or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any savings. I've got regular income, as you know, and it's pretty steady. But it seems to me that every time I get paid, I end up, spending it on rent and food and this and that, and paying off that £100 on a credit card, and then fucking spending it again when the money runs out. So I've got regular income. I don't have any money put away. What do I do? What's my move?
Okay. There's two main sort of sides here. The first side is how do you get money to put it aside? How do you figure out a way to basically have more money to do stuff with it?
Yeah.
And then the second side is what do you do with it, which is more what I was talking about before.
Yeah.
In terms of how you manage better the money that you do have, that's easier because it's more black and white in the sense that it's like you look at how much you have coming in, you look at everything you have going out, you try to figure out how can I maximize the first one and how can I minimize the second one?
Yeah.
So how can I take the money that I make and make more, and then how can I take the stuff that I'm spending and spend less?
Yeah.
That's like the perfect combo, obviously. So you'd need to look at any ways that you can in what you're doing to increase your income, which I know that you're already looking at, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
For the money going out, You just need to look at, like, in the same way you said track your calories for a week, for a month, just make a note of everything that you spend. And you don't have to do it manually because you've got bank statements on your phone now. It's like 2025.
Yeah.
So just at the end of March, let's say, at the end of March, just sit down with like a notepad or an Excel spreadsheet or something, Google Sheets or whatever, and just look at everything that you've spent. And it will tell you categorically what you've spent in what section. And you'll see, in the same way, it's the equivalent of like the olive oil or the ketchup.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, that's 300 calories or that's 200. It's the same thing. There'll be stuff where you're like, how much do you spend on fucking, I don't know, you probably don't do this, but something like getting coffee out somewhere.
Yeah.
You might think like, oh, it's only like £3 for a coffee, something.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but fuck, I had 7 coffees in the last month. That was 21 quid.
Yeah.
Or like, how many subscriptions do I have? Oh, well, it's only like, 11 quid or 12 quid for Netflix. And you're like, oh yeah, but fuck, actually I've got Prime and I've got Netflix and I've got Disney and I've got Spotify as well.
Yeah.
And also that actually comes out. So then suddenly you're looking at you like, I've got 140 quid in subscriptions or something like that. So looking at, you'll realize you spend more than you need to. So that's one part of it. And you got to find ways to cut corners. I'm more, focused on the actual other side of it, which is when you do have money to put aside, where do you put it?
This is what I want to know. Yeah. What do I do?
Because that's the thing. It's the 80-20 thing of it's actually really fucking simple.
Because I had a couple of years ago, I was like, doing fairly well, and I was starting to put some money away. But it was just a normal everyday saver. And I know you have the ISAs and stuff, but again, I come from a place where it's like people don't even have bank accounts, let alone savings accounts. So it's like, fuck it,
So the problem with a savings account, and that's why it's like you want to have money in a savings account that's accessible, so it's liquid in the sense that if you need it, you can access it. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. So you want to have some money in a savings account, but only the absolute minimum, which is the nature of an emergency fund. Yeah. So when I say an emergency fund, I literally mean a savings account with your bank. Yeah. Where you figure out what your monthly expenses are at the absolute minimum. Like if shit hit the fan, I don't mean like what they are right now because you're living comfortably because you've got a job. Yeah. But I'm saying if shit hit the fan tomorrow and you lost your job, what is the absolute minimum you'd need to get by for 6 months? Figure out what that number is per month, times it by 6. That's your emergency fund number.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot of money.
But the thing is, it is. But then you never have to touch it. Yeah. You never, ever, ever, ever touch it. You just leave it there. Yeah. It's not the money that you dip into. And also, it's an emergency fund. So it's like, for example, if you had an emergency fund now, you're having a kid in 3 months. When you found out you're having the kid, you're like, fuck, we need to get a pram. That's an emergency. You weren't expecting to have the kid. The kid's now coming. You weren't budgeting for it, but you need to get prams and whatever else.
Or if you get injured and you can't work, you're self-employed, some shit like that.
Exactly. Yeah. That makes sense. So it's for an emergency. Yeah. If your car breaks down, you need to repair it. If there's suddenly a fucking leak in the toilet, you need to call a plumber in. Like that's what it's there for. It's an emergency fund. Yeah. And anytime you dip into it, you make sure you replenish it back to the number. That then becomes your top priority. Yeah. So the first priority, it's like a sort of pyramid. So the first step is always just eliminate debt. So if you're in any debt, eliminate it because it's not good for your credit score. And I'm not really like a big guy on credit score just in general because I don't really plan on borrowing.
My credit score must be so bad.
It's not that hard to rebuild it.
The trick is to use a credit card and just pay it off instantly, basically, right? That's what I've heard.
Some people, that is a big one, and that's a great way to build your credit score. I've never had a credit card in my life, and everyone said that you need to have a credit card, blah, blah, blah. I never did it. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. And if you have a bad credit score, it might not be the worst idea to get one and do that for 6 months, just, to help you build it back up. But I've never had...
Can we check our credit score? Is that just
I've checked mine. I know mine.
Can I just check my... I don't need to put... I just put my... How does it work?
You basically go on a website and you put in your... I forget what's the one that I use. I think I use Experian. Experian. Yeah, I use Experian.
I think I did check it, but I don't know. Okay, let's... Do I need like weird details or can I just put my name in or something? How does it work?
It might need a few more details. I haven't done it. I haven't made an account on it in a little while. That's the website. That's exactly what I use.
Let me. You fill the air. Let me try and get.
Well, okay. So you want to pay off debt first, mainly because of credit score, and also just because of the interest on debt. And it's like, however small it is, it's just good to be free of it. Because the idea is like you want to have freedom. So paying off the debt is always the first priority. From that point, that's when you get into the
emergency fund territory. So the first priority, pay off your debt. The second priority is get an emergency fund so that you know that you've got some security. Because also from like a psychological perspective, like as humans, you know, having a baseline level of security goes a really long way. And I appreciate that obviously a lot of people will be in a situation where they're like, well, I'm so fucking strapped for cash, I can't put anything aside. And like I said, I'm not addressing people that physically don't have any money to put aside, because that's like a whole other ball game that depends on someone's life and what job they're doing. And I'm like, I'm in no way pretending that I know how to get someone out of a sticky financial situation, because I don't. I'm just saying a really straightforward way to manage your money and grow wealth over time if you don't come from it or don't have it or whatever. What is it?
Oh, is it? Do you know? Like,
I just saw it.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
It's not great, but it's
like
also, but it's not terrible. It's no, like, I thought you were going to be in the red. Do you want to say it out loud?
Yeah, I don't give it.
Yeah.
744. Is that bad? I don't know.
No, that's fine.
Out of 999, that doesn't seem too bad, does it?
Well, you're in the bottom end of the yellow.
I'm scraped into fair.
You're scraped into fair. Yeah, but also that's not going to be like that bad for you.
Well, I've got 2 missed payments as well. Fuck, what's that?
Yeah, well, that's part of it.
Oh, I think that was like a Klarna thing or something.
Yeah.
1 medium impact. Improve your score with 2 actions. Okay.
But basically,
1 positive change to your score. Haha. Nice.
But again, that comes from things like reliability. So like,
yeah,
I had a loan. I got a loan when I was 20, because I wanted to get a car, and I had a bunch of money saved, but I needed an extra, I think, 10.5 grand or something, to pay for the rest of the car. And so I took a loan out with my bank, and I paid it off, and I actually paid it off in quite good time as well.
The car you have now?
No, my first car.
Okay. What was your first car?
Audi A3.
You little slag. I didn't know that.
It was my baby.
I didn't
turbo
know
engine,
that.
dude. I loved it. I loved her to bits, that car. That was my I would never have got rid of it, but the ULEZ came in and I had to get rid of it. And I took it to the garage and they were like, fucking, this is so sad because she's in such great nick and you could keep driving her for at least another 100,000 miles, 50,000 miles. But I had to get rid of her.
Did you lose a lot of money on it when you sold it?
From when I bought it, from when I lost. I think I bought it for I bought it for 10.5 and I sold it for 3.5.
Oh, it's such a killer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bastard.
But also, I didn't look at it like an investment. I looked at it like a luxury.
Yeah.
And also, I think, because a lot of people said I was crazy for buying a car, especially because I live in London.
Yeah.
And also, they were like, you don't need to get a nice car, like, get whatever. And I was like, yeah, but you know what? I'm like,
you're a young man.
I'm a young man. And also, I was a young man. I didn't go uni. I went straight into a job and I was working and earning my own money. And I was like, I don't buy fancy clothes. I don't buy like designer gear. I don't go to flash restaurants. I'm not like, so I'm not like a big spender. What I enjoy is I want a car. And I want the freedom of having a car. I loved being able to drive to my mate's house around the corner and not have to worry about night buses and Ubers. So I'm like, that for me was how I enjoy my money. And so I didn't look at it like an investment. I looked at it as like, this is a big dumb purchase that will make my life more enjoyable.
Treating yourself.
I'm treating myself.
Yeah.
So you get out, anyway, back to what I was saying. So you get out of debt. Once you're out of debt, and again, I just want to stress, like I said a second ago, I am very sensitive to people who are in a situation where because of their income and their life circumstances, they can't do this. Yeah. So I'm not saying like this is, why doesn't everyone just do this? I'm saying for people who have a little bit of money that they're able to put aside every month, this is what generally is like the 80%, 80-20 rule of like, if you do this 20%, you'll get 80% of the results. Pay off your debt. Once you paid off your debt, get an emergency fund, which is literally open up a savings account with your bank, figure out what your monthly expenses are, times at the bare minimum, times them by 6, that's your number. Any money you put aside, you put it into that account until you hit that number. Once you hit that number, you don't put any more money into a savings account. The reason why, and this is the thing, like I also grew up, like what you said, it's like my family, it's like they just put them into a savings account or whatever. I grew up in the same way. My family didn't grow up knowing about any of this stuff either. Yeah. And I only learned it because I taught myself and I was interested in it. Yeah. But it was the same thing. It was like you got to grow up. When you get your paycheck, you put a little bit of money in your savings account. Yeah. It's really not good advice, but we don't know any better because we didn't come from that. But it's like, but the reason it's bad advice is just basically just because of inflation. Yeah. So if you put your money in a savings account, if you let's say put 50 grand in a savings account, over about 40 years, the money will halve in value in terms of actual spending value.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How does that work though?
Because of inflation. So what's happening is, let's say on a really simple level, let's say you put £100 in an account.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say right now, the cost of a fucking, I'm trying to think of something that would cost. What's something that would cost £10? I don't really buy anything.
Like a big pack of a steak. A steak would be about
A
£10.
steak.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say a steak is £10,
Yeah.
right? You've got £100 right now, and that can buy you a steak for £10.
Yeah.
You put that £100 in a savings account. In, let's say, 50 years,
I'm with you. Yeah.
a steak isn't £10 anymore. A steak is £20.
Yeah.
So you've still got £100 in your safe, in your bank. The money is safe. You still have on paper £100.
Yeah.
But the buying power of that £100 is actually £50.
Yeah.
So when you put money in a savings account, if you save for like 50 years and you save up like, you know, 100 grand or something like that, you're actually only really going to have the spending power of 50 grand.
Yeah.
Because with the way of inflation goes.
Yeah, because the money's not growing with the economy or with
Exactly.
the inflation. Yeah, that makes
And because
sense.
inflation is there every year, what it means is that if you're not, if the amount you're making your savings, which is normally like fuck all, it's like 0.5% or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you're not making any money on the savings, then you are literally losing money.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Ah.
Yeah. That's why savings account is never, and whenever I try and talk to my friends about investments, they're like, oh, I don't know about all that investing, trading stocks. I'm like, it doesn't have to be a big gamble.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why in a sec. But basically, so pay off the debt, emergency fund, which is, you know, bare minimum. After that, any money that you have goes into a portfolio. And
This is stocks.
stocks.
Okay.
Now, the beautiful thing is that, so you have an ISA, which is like a tax incentivized savings account. So
Are they good? Because I was going to
ISAs are
start
great.
one of those. Yeah.
ISAs are great. But there's a caveat here. So you have like a regular, what's called a cash ISA,
Yeah.
which is basically a regular savings account that's tax incentivized.
It's a regular
whatever.
schmegular.
Regular schmegular.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You also have stocks and shares ISAs.
Yes.
So you can actually invest in the stock market through an ISA,
Ah.
which means that all of the gains you make are completely tax free.
Ooh.
Yeah. Up to, at the moment, it's 20K a year. So right now, the government limit, the ISA is 20K a year. I think when I was a kid, it was about 10K. When I was like a teenager, it was like
Okay.
10K. Now it's gone up. So it's now, you can put up to 20K a year into an ISA tax free, which means at that point, it's great because if you're investing, you know, most people aren't going to invest 20K a year. That's
Yeah.
you know, you have to be earning a lot of money to even invest that. That's
Yeah.
a lot of money. But what it means is everyone that, let's say you can only put aside, I don't know, 5K a year,
Yeah.
maybe. If you can put aside 5K a year, that's going straight into a portfolio in a stocks and shares ISA.
Yeah.
That means that you're now building a portfolio that's entirely tax free,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah, of
because
course.
So in terms of, and then anything above 20K a year, if you can invest more than that, then you put it into what's called a GIA, which is a general investment account.
Okay.
And that obviously comes with capital gains tax when you want to take your assets out, but that's too complicated.
So retard question.
Yeah.
You're saying the stocks and shares ISA is essentially, it's a savings account essentially, right?
Yeah.
So can I do that on like just any banking app, or is it like a particular thing?
Not on a
How does
banking
it
app.
work?
You have to open up a brokerage account, but it takes like 10 minutes. It's super
Okay.
easy. I use Vanguard. Vanguard is the biggest in the world. It's
Yeah.
the easiest. It's super straightforward.
Okay.
They've been in business for like fucking 50 years.
And
70 years.
so you're putting this into this account.
Yeah.
Are you just depositing this cash, or are you selecting stocks to? How does that work?
So great question. So I'm not selecting stocks.
Yeah.
I'm selecting a fund.
Okay.
So basically, there are different types of funds. I don't want to get too heady with it because people are going to get it might get a bit too complex. I don't want to overload people with information because they don't need to know about this.
Yeah.
But basically, the very, very, very long story short of it is you have three main types of funds. You have an index fund,
Yeah.
or what's called a tracker fund. You have a mutual fund, and then you have a hedge fund.
Okay.
Hedge funds are completely irrelevant because
Yeah.
they're only applicable to high net worth individuals. If
Yeah.
you don't have £1 million liquid, you can't invest in a hedge fund.
I've heard it in movies. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and that's basically a place where rich people can put their money in and they go for a more aggressive high risk return.
Yeah.
So forget about hedge funds, completely irrelevant.
Fuck them.
You have mutual funds and index funds. Mutual funds are basically managed by a fund manager. So you basically have a guy who's like picking where to balance the portfolio, what to put in, what to take out, move it here, transfer it there. That's what a mutual fund is. It has a fund manager.
Yeah.
An index fund, also known as a tracker fund, does exactly that. It's a tracker of a particular market. So an index fund, you could have an index fund that tracks commodities. You could have an index fund that tracks the UK stock market, the US stock market, the Japanese stock market, whatever it is, the global stock index, whatever it might be. So you're tracking an index, and it basically, whatever the market does, the money just is copied that. You're basically equally spread among that market.
Okay.
Now, 94% of fund managers lose money compared to, or underperform compared to, the S&P 500, which is basically the US stock market index.
Yeah.
So the S&P is basically an index that is basically the top 500 companies of the United States.
Apple, Amazon, Google, that kind of
the top
shit.
500.
Yeah.
Now the great thing is index funds have really low fees.
Okay.
So for example, it's the fund that I'm in. It's the same thing. It's just the S&P. It's like 0.07%.
Yeah.
So it's nothing.
Yeah.
Mutual funds typically charge 3 to 4%.
This is a guy doing the work,
Right.
basically. Yeah. Okay.
Over time, that compounds. Over like 50, 60 years, that adds up to hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money. Also, 94% of fund managers underperform against the S&P. So the S&P is just a tracker of the US economy, basically, usually. Over time, if you just put your money into average it into the US economy, 94% of fund managers over time underperform to just the average of what the market does.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to just forget about mutual funds.
And you're paying less fees.
And you're paying less fees for the S&P.
Yeah.
More fees when there's a fund manager. Yeah. So all you have to do is just dollar cost average into the S&P. Dollar cost averaging is basically the equivalent of, you don't have to pick any stocks or anything like that. All you have to do, dollar cost averaging basically means you're not timing the market. So if you let's say had $5,000 today and you put all $5,000 right now into the S&P, that wouldn't be a very good idea, because what would happen is you're putting all of it in at whatever price the S&P is at right now. So if the S&P then continues to like go down, like right now it's in a bit of a down slump, that means that you're timing a bit of a top in the market and you're losing out on all of the gains that you would get from buying it when it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So
but am I losing money at that point then? If it goes down?
Well, technically, of course, the value of it goes down.
Yeah. But I'm saying my $5,000 is how, because I'm trying to understand how that looks for me. Like, so I deposit $5,000 today. Yeah. The market goes down. Yeah. I look at my account
and it says
2 months
3,500.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can just, because see, that feels to me like it's not a savings account then.
No, it's not a savings account. It's an investment account.
I know, but that feels like that again. Uneducated, but that to me is like I'm losing money. Right. You know, and I know the potential is obviously to make money as well.
But it's not just the potential, and this is the thing that most people that aren't that don't have an understanding of like stocks and shares or finance, whatever it is. Yeah. It is that assumption of like, well, if I put money in stocks, you know, you lose it. What if it goes down? You lose all your money. Yeah. Which is a totally fair assumption. Yeah. It's just not that accurate. Okay. The reason for it is, so number one, what I was saying about dollar cost averaging, timing. So for example, if you have $5,000 right now, don't put $5,000 in right now. Yeah. Put in 500 a month for the next 10 months. If you think that's the only $5,000 you're going to have for the next year, let's say. If you think you're going to get more money in, then, you know, if you're going to get $5,000 every month, then put $5,000 in now. But spread it so that if the market goes down a bit, you can catch those good prices. And if the market goes up, then you're getting an average price of the market. Yeah. That makes sense. So the general thing, what people should do is dollar cost average into the market every month. So once you've paid off your debt and you've got money in an emergency fund and that's sorted, then every month, just take whatever percentage of money you can afford to put aside and put that into a portfolio. Yeah. Now to your question about it going down and you losing your money. This is a long-term investment. Yeah. So you are not checking the market every day. I never check my portfolio ever, really. Yeah. I check it maybe once every month or two, just for the sake of I'm tracking other things. Yeah. But generally speaking, you don't need to track it. The market always goes up. Yeah. And that's the thing that people really need to understand. The market always goes up.
Now, is that like in the same vein as like inflation? Just like things are getting more expensive, the economies are growing. Yeah. It's like football, for example. Like the best player in the world 10 years ago was worth 30 million. Right. Now he's worth 200. Right. Like it expands. It's always going to go up. Yes. It will have its slumps, but it's always on a up trajectory. Is that basically that?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So basically the reason it always goes up is, and it's like looking at it from a simple lens. So this is a long-term investment. If you're putting money into the S&P, you're looking to leave it in for at least 20 years, if not longer. Okay. If you're looking to put it in for 10, you're not really necessarily going to capture, you might have a bad 10 years. Yeah. But over time, you will always do well. Because over time, you're basically investing in the US economy. Yeah. Right? if you get to a point where the S&P 500 tanks, that's because the US has completely tanked. And if the US completely tanks,
The world's over.
the world's over. You got a lot more to worry about than your portfolio. I'll tell you that.
There's a nuke on the way.
There's a nuke on the way.
Yeah.
So it's like either like it keeps like the world keeps going as it's going.
Yeah.
And, you know, companies keep getting bigger, and companies like Apple and Google and everyone else, it's like, you know, America is the world's biggest superpower. And some people, by the way, they don't do the S&P. They might do like a total stock index, so they get some exposure to Asia and some exposure to the UK and Europe. I personally just prefer the S&P because it's more straightforward, and I think that's I'm going to
safe bet,
and I'm going to get better returns there. But it's like over time, it always goes up. So for example, and the returns in good years are phenomenal. So like last year, I think it was I made 30%.
Okay, so 30%.
Yeah, and I think the year, but I'll check it now, because I have my.
So give me a figure. So if I put 10 grand in 30%, I would you'd make
3 grand.
That's fucking decent.
Yeah, but you wouldn't touch it.
See, but see, this is the thing. I'm a greedy little
No,
man.
you wouldn't touch it.
I'm a greedy little man.
You wouldn't
if
touch
I
it.
see
So for example,
grand,
look at this. So look, past performance by year. So 2020 to 2021, 30.92%. That's 31%. 2021 to 2022, 16%.
Okay.
2022 to 2023, down 8%.
Yeah.
2023 to 2024, up 30%.
Jesus.
And 2024 to 2025, up 18%.
Oh, Jesus.
That's some serious returns. Now, bear in mind, if we go into a recession, it's going to be down 30% or down 40%. Like if you look at the S&P in like 2008, 2009, it was like a bloodbath. It was like down 45%.
Yeah.
Because we were in the middle of like a really hardcore recession.
Yeah.
But then in 2010 and 2011, it was back up like 25% and it recovered and it balanced out. But if you panicked and took your money out in 2009, you'd lose, 40% of your money.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, see, the stock market's a fucking scam. You just lose money. It's all a gamble. Yeah. It's like, no. Yeah. It's just, you don't have to pick stocks. You don't have to take risks. If someone says like, oh, invest in this is a great car. If you have and we'll get to that, that's like discretionary money, then that's up to you, but you have to be willing to lose that. Yeah. But like, other than that, it's like, if you just dollar cost average into the market and you just let that grow, and every month you put your 100 quid in, 200 quid in, 500 quid in, whatever you can afford. If you just do that every month, you will retire rich.
Okay, so
over the last 50 years, the S&P has returned an average of, I believe, I might be getting this slightly wrong, but I believe about 11.3% or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my thing again, and this is just me being an uneducated idiot who comes from a very different, a world where no one.
Can I say one last thing before you say that? Just very quickly. So the last part of the puzzle, and this might be a bit controversial to people, but the last part of the puzzle to me is that, because I want to keep it super simple, like I said. It's just literally, I'm not watching stocks every day. I don't have time for it. I don't want to do it. It's too much stress. I don't want to be trading. I don't want to be looking at charts. I don't want to take any excess risk. Yeah. I just want to know that it's reasonably safe, it's going the right way, and my money's growing, and I can guarantee I'll retire rich. That's the goal. So it's like pay off debt, fill emergency fund, and then for my portfolio, 90% of my money that I can put aside goes into the S&P, and then for me, 10% goes into Bitcoin. Now, if people are super cynical about crypto, they could put that into gold. Because and that basically acts as what's called a hedge. So it's basically where in down markets, when the stock market's not doing very well, alternative assets like gold and Bitcoin do very, very well, because people start panicking a bit more. They look for alternative solutions. And that's a very like dumbed down version of it. Yeah. But basically, market down, gold and Bitcoin up generally. Yeah. I'm a big believer in the future of crypto. I'm not an evangelist for it, and I'm not like it's definitely gonna become mainstream and happen, but I like what it represents. I like the fairness of it. I think it would be great for society, and I do think there's a good chance it will reach that level. And if it does, I want to have that level of exposure to it. So I'm willing to put 10% of my portfolio into Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin does hit mainstream levels, right now it's at about 60K. If it reaches mainstream levels, it's not an impossibility that it could eventually, in 10, 20 years, it could be trading at 500K or $1 million. Yeah. And if that happens, I'm making 25 to 50 times whatever I put into it. Yeah. So if I have even $1,000 in Bitcoin, and in 10 years it gets more mainstreamly adopted and the price goes up, that $1,000 could turn into 25 or 50K, which to me is a good bet. Yeah.
Well, I knew someone who bought Bitcoin back in the day when they were like I mean, it was worth, I don't know, it was worth like 20 quid. I don't know exactly what the number was, but it was low.
Yeah.
And then it went up to like 30 grand or something.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I knew a guy who jumped on it early.
Yeah.
So that's the same.
I know a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I had a friend who tried to get me into it, and I was just like, he actually, bro, he brought me to his house, and he took me on his computer, and he was telling me there's a thing called crypto and this thing, blockchain, and I was just too dumb to understand it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he's like, you can mine it, so you can open up a wallet on this website, and you put it, and I was like, right, didn't do it.
And you could have been.
And him and a few other guys I know did it, and
millions.
gone clear.
Yeah,
Like
millions.
completely gone clear.
Yeah. I knew a girl who bought like 50 of them.
Wow.
And she sold them when it wasn't when they were 60k. They were
Right.
maybe like 10k or something.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
she probably paid a few £100 and she made 50 racks or something.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, it's mental.
Nuts.
That's life-changing money.
Oh god, I want to kill him. Have you heard the story about the guy who fucking
Yeah, I have.
bought a pizza with a couple of with a few
Yeah.
Bitcoin? Oh,
Crazy.
And it was worth like $500,000.
Yeah.
By the time it all came
So
out.
for me, I'm like, and I know that crypto is a hot topic for people and it's a very controversial topic. I'm saying don't go researching crypto. I mean, unless you're interested in it.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole nature of every 80-20.
But where are you at with the other ones? Like I invested in crypto a few years ago because there was some stonehead in my block that was like, you got to do it, and I bought like Ripple and some other thing.
Yeah.
And I put like £500 in, and it went up to like £600, and I took it out straight away.
Right.
Because I was just like, in my mind, I'm like, I made £100. I'm happy.
I think
I know that's not how you're meant to fucking operate it, but I'm just greedy. I'm like, I'll take
and
it.
that's a really bad thing to do.
I know,
So,
of course, yeah.
but I'm of the view that like 90% of people should not be doing that.
Yeah.
Unless you're really interested in the space and you're really willing to learn about the projects and have a firm and like be, on Twitter talking to people about the projects and who the developers are and figuring out like where it might go and comparing it to other. If you want to make that like a hobby or like an interest that you have an outlier interest in, go for it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the 80-20. It's the kind of same thing of like, if you want to go to the gym 5 days a week and do isolation exercises and track every single macronutrient and micronutrient and every single calorie to the number, do that if you're interested in it.
Yeah.
But in the same way, the advice you gave me is like, I don't care about fitness in the sense that it's not a hobby. I just want to be in good shape and look good.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, we'll do these 4 things.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I'm not worried about looking at charts every day. I'm not trying to make 20 million quid off this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I want to make sure there's a nice like security blanket so that when I get old, I have a nice fat portfolio and I don't have to put that much thought into it because it's about over time. So I just do these 4 or 5 things and then I don't have to think about it.
So let me ask you this.
And if crypto is too controversial, and by the way, that's why I say Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin is the first mover. It's the biggest brand.
Safe again.
It's just safest.
Yeah.
It's like 50 to 60% market dominance.
But is there not a world just as feasibly as, like you said, it could become the big thing and it could go up to 500k?
Yep.
Is there not also a world just as likely where it just crashes and it's worth nothing and then you've lost 10 grand or whatever?
Yeah. But that's why I put 10. I'm willing to stake 10% of my net worth on it.
Yeah.
I know people who stake 15, 20%.
See, but
I know people who stake 5%. But for me, that's my situation.
No, I get
So
I get that.
My friend who's like a crypto expert and he's completely gone clear off it. He was even saying, he's like, look, I have about 15% of my net worth in it. But that's because I'm more in the space. I have even more confidence in it. He's like, judge it based on your confidence. If you feel like there's a really slim chance that crypto will ever grow or get those kind of returns, then put 2% in. Or if you don't want to be involved in crypto at all, don't worry about it. Put 5% of your assets into gold or something. But you basically just have to have some sort of higher risk exposure in a smaller percentage of your portfolio, like 5-10%, in something else that will A, help cover you in the downtrends of the market, and B, will give you a chance to hit that higher return if the market goes really well.
That's a bit, high risk, high reward, that kind of stuff.
But it's not like, again, it's not high risk in the sense that gold has consistently gone up as well over the years, as has Bitcoin.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, is gold not safer than Bitcoin though? Because like, I don't see how gold can just flop.
No, gold
There's a world where Bitcoin just disappears, right? I mean,
not disappears. I mean, we're getting more into the waters of like regulation and politics and things like that. That's a bit techier. But yeah, gold is more stable for sure.
Gold is never going to just like fall apart or have legislation
Yeah, yeah,
against it or something. The only thing I guess it could run out maybe, but
Yeah, but then scarcity increases value.
exactly.
So,
So
yeah,
gold is the move, surely.
Well, yeah, but the percentage returns on Bitcoin are just
way better. Yeah, okay,
like way
fair.
like you're not going to get 50x off gold in 5-10 years.
No.
But you actually legitimately could with
But
crypto.
what about 40 years? Because if you're saying
You're
it's
not
a
going to get 50x, no way.
what
not
would you
gold.
get on gold then?
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look at the chart. I looked at it actually the other day. Gold, I think in 1995 was trading at I want to say, is it 3.5 or is it trading at 3.5 now? Anyway, point is, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds because the whole premise of it was basically to say keep it simple.
Simple, yeah.
What was the question you were going to ask me?
So
about?
here's my thing,
Yeah.
right? And again, I'm uneducated. You've explained it very well, by the way, and I'm
Cheers.
actually going to take a lot of this advice.
Yeah, and like you said with the fitness, I can help you with it as well. So if you want to know like how
Yeah,
to
for
open
sure.
an account, what to do, like I can help you with all of it.
For sure. My plan now is to get my emergency fund cooking,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to do exactly what you said, because that all sounds just like very sound advice. But here's my thing with this, right? And again, this is probably a stupid thing to say, but this is just where my mind goes.
Okay.
What's the point? And I get it. I get what you're saying of like, you put it in the account and you hold it there for, 30 years, 40 years. And then, you could put, let's say over the next 40 years, I put in £50,000 over the 40 years.
Yeah.
And I put it into the S&P?
S&P.
S&P. And I mean, so I've got 50 grand that I've accumulated and put in over time. What kind of, feasibly, what kind of return could I see? Because if we're talking about
Love this.
5 grand or 10 grand, then it's like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the point? You might as well just hold the cash or hold the money.
I'm so happy that you asked me that.
Yeah.
Because this is my favorite part of
I need to know. Yeah, I need to know.
This is the difference. So,
and again, this is just an uneducated man
sure.
who's like, I don't get why you're doing it. Just put the cash under the bed is where I go, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm about to show you,
Yeah.
this will change your life. You will never look at money the same way again.
Yeah.
The reason investing works over time is essentially the concept of accumulation, but essentially it comes down to one word, which is called compounding, right? Now, the nature of compounding, it applies in different areas. So it applies in fitness too, compounded gains, things like that.
Yeah.
Compounding is so powerful, and it's just basic maths. Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world because it's just that remarkable. The way compounding works is time is the biggest factor. So the earlier you start, the better. Because if you're, the gains you'll get over 10 years compared to the gains you get over 50 years are like night and day.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you asked in terms of what kind of returns could I feasibly make. So this is my favorite part because this always blows people's minds. So right now, let's take out a calculator, right? So let's say, how much could you feasibly save, invest, call it save, invest. Let's say you're out of debt and your emergency fund is there.
Yeah.
So you're clear. How much feasibly for the next, let's say 30 years of you working, you're 30 now, let's say till you're 60, 35, right? Till you're 65. How much could you comfortably put aside? I don't mean like try and shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
I mean like even in a month where things are a bit tight or whatever, you could commit to putting that money aside.
Say
for your
£200.
future. Okay, right.
To be conservative.
Sure. So £200 a month times 12 months in a year.
Yeah.
That's 2,400 times 35 years. That's 84K.
Okay.
Right. So if you put £200 a month aside from this month for 35 years when you're 65 in just a savings account, that money will be worth 84,000. Right. Now, let's say your initial investment is 200. Now, the S&P, and by the way, just to show I'm not doing any funny numbers here, I'll show you. So average return of S&P 500. Historically, it's averaged around 10% annual returns. It's reduced to, when adjusted for inflation, it's reduced to 6-7%. But that's adjusted for inflation, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the pre-inflation figure because inflation is going to apply regardless. So I'm just going to take, historically, it's generated 10% annual returns. Because inflation's harder to calculate because it's like we have to take, inflation numbers change over time and it gets a bit more complicated. So,
but also, so this is, I mean, with the 10% is average because 1 year it'd be 30, then it goes down 30, right? Okay, yeah.
So for example, here, if you look at Investopedia, the S&P 500 has delivered an average annual return of 10.13%. I was off by 1%.
Yeah.
10.13% since 1957.
Yeah.
So since 1957, that includes Black Monday in 1987 when all the markets went crazy.
Yeah.
That includes the dot-com boom of the 2000. That includes 2008.
Yeah.
Everything. COVID, all of it. Since 1957, the annual return is 10.13%. All right.
Jesus, that's crazy.
So I'm going to put that in. Right. So we got £200 a month.
Yeah.
Interest rate 10.13% annually. Compound frequency monthly, and 35 years. And deposit amount £200 a month. Right. Now, with savings of you putting £200 a month in from now for 35 years until you're 65, what number did we come with?
84 grand.
84 grand. Okay. If you put that money, instead of putting it into a savings account, into the S&P, given its historic performance, have a guess.
God. Well, you said 10% return, so that would be 10% would be 8.
Well, it's 10% compounded.
Yeah, okay. I would say 120 grand back or something. 100. I don't know. I don't want to go too low. Go on.
792k.
What? No, that can't be right though.
No, it is. Look.
Well, that's like factual. Dude, like,
look, it's just math. Look, the calculations are here. Look, it's deposits, the interest. So the first year, you're putting in 2,400, right? The interest you make is £135.
Okay.
Because you're making 10 point whatever percent on 2,400.
Yeah.
But then the next year, that £135 stays in.
Yeah.
So the next year, you're putting in another 2,400. You make more interest. So you've now deposited that, but that compounds. So the interest just keeps getting reinvested.
Yeah.
So it compounds. Now, you know what's crazy? Because time is the biggest factor, when you get to the point where you're 30 to 35 years in, suddenly every year is a crazy difference because of the nature of how much you're compounding.
Just to simplify this for the idiots out there like me, do you know what this just made me think of?
What?
You know, if you go on a calculator and you go 1 times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, and then before you know it, it starts jumping up by like hundreds of thousands.
Yeah,
that's the compound. That's essentially exactly right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So now imagine, look, our retirement age is getting later. People are living longer. They're being healthier. So I reckon our legal retirement age by the time we're adults will be at
90.
Least, but at least 70. They're already talking about doing 70.
For sure.
So call it 40 years, right? 35 years at 65, you're worth 800k.
Yeah.
40 years, 5 years later, you're worth 1.3 million.
That's crazy, man.
And that's in 5 years.
That's crazy.
Push it to 75, and you go from 75, you're worth 2.2 million.
So you're going up of a whole million in
5 years.
An extra 5 years.
Because look, by the end of it, if you look at, so this is accrued interest total. This is interest per year, right? Yeah. So year 1, you're making 135. Obviously, you're not actually making it this literally because it's not 10% a year.
Yeah,
Some year you might make 3.
And it will go down and then up. Yeah.
But overall, so for example here, in year 45, from 74 to 75, you're making 212k in interest. And by the way, you're putting this in a tax-free stocks and shares ISA. So that's 200. You're making 200k a year tax-free in interest.
Okay, but so again, I go back to the point, and by the way, that's amazing. Right? And I'm actually definitely going to do this now. But I go back to the point, and this is just small thinking. This is small-minded.
Yeah.
What is the point a little bit? I know you've got the value and you can give that to your kids, and you know but it all feel, and again, this is just me being small-minded and having no
sure.
You know, coming from a place where
it's all valid. Yeah, go.
Money and finance is like an alien thing to us, but like I'm just like, but so okay. So let me ask you. Let's say you get to 75, you have kids, you have grandkids, you retire, you've made the 2 million, you have a 2 million tax free in your stocks and shares ISA. What do you do with that? And you're handing it down to the kids. It's like generational wealth. You create. What's your? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's obviously that's subjective.
Yeah. But I know you. Sorry to cut you, but I know you said like, I want to retire. I want to retire comfortably. I'm a bit like you. I mean, I guess you're only putting a certain amount in, but it's like that £200.
Yeah.
Let's go a bit more extreme. Let's say I was a bit more comfortable. Let's say it's £500.
Yeah.
That £500 over a year is £6,000.
Yeah.
Now that $6,000, it goes in that. And again, I'm not saying that what I'm saying is right and that is wrong because it's obviously a great thing to do. But in a way, it's like that $6,000. And again, this is again small thinking, but you could go on an extra holiday with your family that year with that money, and it just feels a bit like that. Feels more like a a box to tick. Like I've got this net worth. Whereas like, you know, and again, I understand the premise completely. I'm just kind of pushing back for devil's advocate.
And it's good to push back on it. But again, don't forget that number is all subjective to you.
Yeah.
So for example, you're absolutely right. It's about the experiences. For me, that's why I'm trying to work really, really hard and do multiple different things.
Yeah.
Because I want to stack that way faster. Because for me, it's about security. You know me. I'm not a flash guy. I don't buy stuff. I don't give a fuck about having like an X net worth for, you know, I can buy a supercar. I don't give a fuck about any of that.
Yeah.
For me, it's just about security.
Yeah.
And it's about freedom.
Yeah.
People are living longer. When you get to like 60, you're not going to be like in a wheelchair. I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, you know, dribbling in a nursing home, 85 years old, you know, whatever. You're going to be in decent nick when you're 60 years old.
Yeah.
You know, think about how many people you know. I've got so many aunts and uncles that are like 55, 60, 65. And they're like...
They're in the gym.
They're in the gym. They're going about... So imagine having that kind of freedom at that age where you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And also even earlier. So for example, what you could do to use the example you gave, imagine like you said, it's 500 a month if you're working a bit harder. Let's say you're 30 now, 20 years until you're 50 and you just really cane it. And at 50, so 20 years from now, same return, 500 a month. At 50, you're worth 400 grand, tax free. And 50's young, man.
50's very young.
50's young. And then you've got 400 grand. You can retire early. You can move to another country. By the way, if you move somewhere like Thailand, you can live on £800 a
forever
month like a king.
Yeah.
So you might, you know, it all comes down to what you want.
But because then my only thing is like, okay, so let's say you hit that number, you hit 70.
Also, can I say one last thing?
Go.
Just to the question you just asked as well, because it's a great point of like, well, quality of life over future security.
Yeah.
Completely get it. That's why make sure that you incorporate when you like figure out your finances and budget. And again, this is to people who have the financial capability to do it. Again, I'm very sensitive to people that can't do that for whatever reason. But if you do have the ability to think like this, figure out your monthly, allocate a percentage of your budget to enjoyment, allocate a percentage of your budget to leisure. This is the bare minimum. You don't have to do £200 a month. If you get to the end of the month and you realize, actually, do you know what? I can put £500 a month aside, but actually I want to do XYZ this year, then put £200 of that a month aside and put £300 a month into a little pot to go on holidays or buy a car, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
But just don't do nothing for your future because you will get old if you're fortunate enough to live long enough. You will get old. And when you get old, you don't want to be in a situation where you're fucking having to graft and let your, you know, till your fingers bleed.
Yeah.
And you're just knackered and you can't relax. And even then when you're working, you've still got, fuck, what if this happens? And what if the economy imagine every time the economy takes a turn or something goes down or there's downsizing or redundancies or there's AI or the market's changing, whatever it is, and you're fucking having to shit yourself being like, fuck, what am I going to do if I lose this? How am I going to pay that? And the kids are fucking, how am I? Just having that security of knowing like, okay, whatever happens, I'm good.
Yeah.
I might not be the richest guy in the world, but I can pay my bills. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food in my belly.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable and I can live my life on my terms.
Yeah.
If I want, you know what? I'm sick of my fucking job. I've been investing for like, 30 years. I want to retire early.
Yeah.
Things like that.
That makes sense.
yeah.
And I think
Great question.
Yeah, no, that was more just for me to hear that side of it, honestly. I mean, I don't see that what I said is right at all, but it was just more like, I'm sure some people would be thinking that, like, what's the point? So it's interesting to hear that side of it. So a couple of things on that. So obviously when you hit that magic number, let's say you get to 50, you go, you know what, I've done well with this investing thing, I'm out. I mean, is there not something to be said for like, are you pulling it all out? I mean, I guess if you have
you can pull
out half, and
what
keep
some
half,
people do is they do the 4% rules. They just take out 4% every year. So for example, if you've got $1 million, 4% is 40 grand. For example, so that's like a 40 grand salary, for example, and that's actually tax free, so it's actually more than a 40 grand salary.
See, so that makes sense to me. That seems like a good way to do it.
Yeah,
obviously, that's further down the line when you
because also the amount that you take out would probably be less than what it would be compounding at anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you're at a point where you're compounding like 100k a year,
yeah,
you might take out 40 grand a year, so you're still compounding an extra 60k a year or whatever. So you can still
and
grow
you're essentially giving yourself another income.
Yeah.
Yearly. See again, and this is only because I'm small-minded. I don't think in the big picture.
Sure.
I'm someone who comes from how much am I getting paid today?
Yeah.
How much am I getting
also,
paid
by the
month,
way, I have to say again, because I also come from that.
Yeah.
Thinking in the big picture is a luxury.
Yeah.
The last 5 years of my life, I've been working in hospitality until up until the start of 2024. I was working in hospitality for 5 years, making fuck all money.
Yeah.
I haven't been. I couldn't invest or put any savings aside for 5 years.
Yeah.
There was a whole 5-year stretch where I put nothing aside.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't.
Yeah.
So thinking in the future and planning for the future is a luxury. Some people have to live more in the present because you can't think like that. But it's more if you can think like that, if you have that luxury, or if you're working towards being in a position where you can think like that, then this is a really easy no-brainer way to just make sure that like you can retire comfortably. Yeah. It's just it gives me so much security.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And just last question on it, because I think you've actually explained that very well, mate.
Thanks, man.
So fair play.
Cheers.
Because I find those things quite confusing generally. But
also, sorry, I'm having so many thoughts, which is one last thought before you ask that. The other thing is, I think what you tapped on about like where you come from and stuff, and like where my family comes from and stuff as well. It's like my mum said it to me all the time. Like, you know, she wasn't taught that. None of my family were taught that. It's like we're all the same thing. It's like working class. Most of my family are in the trades. Yeah. It's like it's not an obvious thing. Yeah. But that's why I'm passionate about it, and I'm interested in it, and I find it fascinating. But I'm passionate about it because people like us, and I know we've had different lives in the sense that I was lucky enough to get a bursary to private school and shit like that. Still, like people like us in terms of like our families and where we come from. Like it's important that we do know about this and we get a slice of the pie too. It can't just be for one layer of society. Yeah. And like there are plenty of people that are from the family backgrounds that we're from that work hard, they have great incomes and they could afford to be doing this, but they just don't know about it. Yeah. And that's a shame because it means that only a very particular class of people actually get money. Yeah.
So, well, also that's a big opportunity to break the mold in terms of break the cycle.
Exactly. Like, I love that. I say that all the time. I say that to my boy. I've got a boy, he lives in the block in West near me. And I say to him all the time, I'm like, bro, if you start doing this shit, like all of the people in your family and your friends, you're now going to put them on game. And then now they're going to start doing it. You can actually lift up your entire neighborhood.
You can change your whole community by doing it. And that's the other thing. That's my main like goal in life is to just break the mold a little bit. Yeah. Like just own a house. Like, I don't even really care about owning a house per se. I think that a lot of that is like you just get told to do that. So people feel passionate about it. But I would love to do it just to do it. Like, even that's why I'm kind of gutted I didn't go to university because no one in my family ever went to uni. It's like, it would have been nice to do that. It is just nice to think that in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, my grandkids will be from a completely different place because of me. Solely because of me, you know, like they could have grown up in council flats like I did and like everyone in my family did, but because of my work and, you know, the way I operated in my life, they're now living in a nice flat that they own or that they, you know, like whatever, or they go to uni or they don't see certain things that I saw because of me. Exactly. So that's a big thing for me. So I think it is great to learn about this stuff. And I also think as you were explaining that and you were showing me those numbers, I massively undersold it. I said like 120 or something off 80 grand and you said 780 grand. And it's like, my first thought was like, why isn't everyone doing this? But it's because of the lack of knowledge. It's because people don't know. Like I guarantee you now, I'll call every person on my contacts now. Do you know what stocks and shares ISA is? They'll be like, fuck off, mate. Yeah. They won't know. They won't have an idea. Yeah. They'll think it's a new restaurant or something. Yeah. They won't know.
Or they'll be like, oh, but that's all the gambling, it, mate.
I ain't doing all that fucking shit.
I'm not picking stocks and all that. It's just a big con. You lose it. You know, the brokers are the people in finance. They're the ones that make the real money.
Yeah. And by the way, that's how these people want it to be. Yeah. They want to keep the man down. They want to keep you down, man. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Very fascinating, by the way. I enjoyed that. Let me ask you this. What is the risk? Now, all of that sounds great. I'm very much of the belief that it sounds a bit too good to be true. Because the way you've laid it out there, it sounds like there's no risk. It sounds like, and I know you're not saying that.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying that.
I know that, but I'm saying we just looked at the thing, average annual thing for the last 70 years has been 10%. So it's like, what is the downside? Because it doesn't sound like there's one when you package it in a certain way. So you tell me and tell the people, what is the downside?
Okay, one downside is it's time. It takes time. This is not an overnight get rich quick scheme that I'm telling you about. I'm saying be diligent, put a little bit of money aside every month, don't think about it, set and forget. And in 30 to 35 years, you will be rich beyond your wildest dreams. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's time. So that's one angle. But the other angle is in terms of the risk, you're absolutely right. There is risk and there is nothing without risk. But then there's risk in putting money in a savings account. And if anything, that's guaranteed risk because I know that when I put my money in a savings account, I know it's going down.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, the way I see it is that like, what's more likely for the S&P to tank horrifically and never recover, which has never happened in the history of finance. For that to happen, that means that we are at such a state of absolute pandemonium. Because don't forget, like I said, 2008, COVID, 1987, Black Monday, like all of these times where everyone's like, oh my God, this is it. The economy's fucked. We're done. Oh my God, there's no recovery. Everything's fucking screwed. Oh my God. It always bounces back.
And it's still been steadily going up 10% average.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Last 3 years, it was like 30%, -7, 20%, 30%. So it's like, it still happens.
Yeah.
So it always goes up. And like I said, in the event where it goes down so calamitously, where that would mean the US has fallen.
Yeah.
And not even just like slip from 1 to 2, like Louis said.
Yeah.
It's just pinned down and fucked in the arse. And like the whole US economy is fucked.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
They have the biggest military power. They have the biggest tech. They have the biggest companies. You know, they have so much political influence. They have entertainment. They have media. They have social influence, social capital. They have all the biggest banks, hedge funds, bank. So it's like, what's more likely? Here's the thing. It's more like everything is a risk. It's just calculated risk.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, okay, if America is fine, then my money's fine.
Yeah.
By definition, because I'm literally investing in a basket of America.
Yeah.
If America goes completely tits up underwater and it's just pandemonium and like Russia's taking over or China's taking over, I don't give a fuck where my money is, mate. I'm fucking figuring out how I'm going to move to the woods.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, so if America's fine, then I'm fine. If I'm not, then that happens. But if let's say I go, okay, you know what? I just don't want to take any risk. I'm going to put it in a savings account. Well, then, like you said, you've saved up 84 grand. But also, like I said, mate, that 84 grand
It's now worth 40.
is 42.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have a pretty good chance, like an 80 to 90% chance.
Yeah.
In my eyes, anyway. Don't quote me on figures, blah blah blah. But like the market's always recovered.
Yeah.
Historically, always.
Yeah.
In the worst pandemoniums. So it's like the market's always recovered. So it's like I'd rather take an 80 to 90% chance that like the economy will just keep growing.
Yeah.
Or take a 100% chance that I'm going to slave away, save up 80K and it's worth 40.
Yeah.
And I can't buy shit.
Yeah, and also, like, even if the average drops significantly, and let's say the average goes down to just flat, like it doesn't make any money to your portfolio, then you're in the same position as you were with a savings account anyway.
Well, if anything, you're still better because let's say the average has been 10.13 over the last since 1957.
Yeah.
So the average since 1957.
Yeah.
Which is what, 75 years.
And again, if it was to drop from 10 to 0, that's a huge jump. If it stayed at average 10%.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the really, really, really worst case, let's say for the next 40 years, at the end of the next 40 years, the average for the next 40 years is 5%.
Yeah.
Well, that's still more than you're getting in a savings account.
Yeah.
Because in a savings account, you're getting fucking nothing.
Nothing,
or 0.5 or 1% or whatever.
So it would have to drop to below 0 essentially to be worse than a savings account.
Yeah, but that's pandemonium.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, at that point.
And drop to 0 for like 10 years straight.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's the average. And I'm saying the average would have to drop, which just seems impossible if the average is at 10% over the last 70 years.
And this is the thing. It's like, I keep it simple. I'm not picking crypto moon stocks.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking picking
Dogecoin.
I'm not doing meme coins. I'm not doing shit coins. I'm not investing in fucking GameStop. I'm not doing fucking picking stocks and seeing what's going to get me a better return. If you're interested in that, fucking go for it, mate. Take 10% of your portfolio and be like, this is money I'm willing to lose. I'm going to take a bit of a gamble. I want to try picking stocks because I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
But accept that it's gambling and accept that it's what you're willing to lose.
Yeah.
Or learn it as a profession,
Yeah.
whatever. But for 95% of people, 99% of people, don't fucking worry about that.
Yeah.
Just put 90% of your money into fucking this thing and then 10% into Bitcoin or gold or 5% if you want to be even more risk averse, whatever. And then just forget about it.
What is the average gold increase? Would you know that?
Yeah, gold average gold return
Last 40 years,
yeah,
5.9.
Yeah.
Last 10 years, 8.8.
Yeah.
So I mean, what does that work out to though? Let's say if I put £100 on gold every month, and in the last 10 years it's gone up 8%.
Well, that would be incorporated into the money that I already put into the other one. But like,
Is that the compound though? That would still.
It was
be
still
the same
compound
thing?
because you're leaving it in.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I'm just curious about that. How that would work.
I mean, gold would be. So what percentage are we talking?
8.8 it was.
So call it.
And that was over the last 10 years. I mean.
Well, that means you'd be talking. Call it split the middle. Call it 6%. Let's say.
Okay.
So 6%. So that would be 10% of your money. So are you talking 200 or 500 a month?
Let's say I put the 200 into.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sorry. Let's say I put 500 into the
Thingy.
S&P,
Yeah.
and then I put 100 into gold.
But that's more than 10%.
So what was so 50 then?
So you put 450 into the market.
Yeah.
And you put 50 into gold.
Yeah.
Okay. So your initial investment is like 50 quid. Interest rate, call it 6%. Over what, 35 years?
Yeah, we'll do that again.
35 years, and you're putting 50 quid a month into it.
Yeah.
That would mean in 35 years you'd have 70k, 71k.
That's pretty fucking good as well.
Yeah.
But then, is there also a potential?
And that's 50 quid a month.
Is there also a potential for that? You said that gold and things like that, like selective stocks, have a bigger risk and bigger reward in the sense that could just jump up one day, and it could be bigger than 8%.
Yeah, they're an alternative asset.
Yeah.
So by definition, because they're alternative assets, they have higher risk. Like oil is riskier than the S&P.
Yeah.
Because the oil.
But I'm saying if gold, let's say like you said, scarcity becomes more prevalent, and then all of a sudden gold just jumps up.
Yeah.
That is that more of a case where you could be like, you could overnight you could go from having 10k to 100k in something like gold. No, how would that work?
That would be, again, the world would have to be in a crazy situation for you to suddenly 10x the value of gold. That means the need and value for gold has 10 times overnight. Yeah, which is. But
what about Bitcoin? Because that does big jumps a few times.
It does, but the reason for that is called the halving. So every 4 years, Bitcoin halves, but that's a whole other podcast. But basically, gold and Bitcoin are alternative assets, and they're just a good way to hedge your bets. You just put a small percentage, whatever that means to you, 5 to 15%, whatever, 20%. If you want to be more risk on, it's up to you. If you're younger, you can start with 20%, and then in your older years, make it 10%, you know? So if you're like 18, 19, 20, and you're working, you might want to put 20% of your net worth into Bitcoin because you can afford to take that risk. And then maybe when you get to like 30, you then shift it to like 10% moving forward or whatever. So it's up to you. But
if I was to do that, the gold and the fucking, S&P, when I'm 70, realistically, I should have about 3 million
when you're 75.
But that was based on 200 as well, remember? So I'm saying if you put 450 in and you put 50 into gold.
Oh, no, it's not 3 million. Dude, then it'd
be like 5 million or something.
Well, yeah, if you look at it, so like initial investment of like 500, interest rate 10.13%. So you're 28.
Yeah.
So let's say 70. Okay, so that's 42 years until you're 70.
Yeah.
So 42 years, 500 a month average, 10.13%. Yeah. So when you're 70, you're worth 4 million tax free.
Jesus. And then on top of that, with the gold, you're looking at.
Oh yeah, you're looking probably at another, I don't know, a couple 100K.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Fair.
Not that much difference compared to the main bit, but also this is where it gets crazy. I know I've said it already, but at 70, you're worth 4 million. 75.
I know that is crazy when you
6.8 million.
That is crazy. What about if you just add one more year? How much
at the end you're making by 75 in that scenario you're making 650k a year.
That's mad.
Tax free.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's monstrous. But again, it's a lot of time. People don't want to wait till they're 75, and I get that too.
Yeah.
You might want to buy a house, and a house is like a luxury purchase. It's a psychological safety purchase. Yeah. It's not really an investment.
It's actually not a good investment.
No,
from what I've heard.
Not in the way that people think it is. Yeah. It's just we're so committed to the idea of like
being a homeowner.
We should have to be a homeowner, and the market's changed. It's not what it was. And
yeah,
but it's fine. I'm not against buying a house. I want a house one day.
No,
but I accept that I want a house, and I'm going to have to sacrifice my gains.
Yeah.
To have a house.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might get to 50 and be like, right, I've been investing for X amount of years. I actually want to buy, and I want to get on the ladder or something. Yeah. And then you can actually.
Or like you said, I might get to 50 and be like, right, I've got 2 mil in an account. I'm gonna just go and live in Thailand for the last 40 years of my life.
You do that with less.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If you have 250K in an account, you're making on average 25K a year tax free.
Yeah.
So you might get, that's $2,000 a month on average. Obviously some years more, some years less.
Yeah, of course.
But on average, you're making $2,500 a month.
That's more than enough to live over there.
Yeah. That's your rent, bills, and a bit of lifestyle.
Yeah, that is mad.
So you could hypothetically retire at 250K.
Yeah.
So then you think, okay, well, if I'm putting 500 quid a month aside, so at the beginning your balance is 500. When do you get to 250K?
10 years.
16 years.
16 years in, fucking hell.
So by the time you're like, what, 43?
Yeah.
You could be worth $250,000. More if you double, like I'm trying to double down.
And also, not to mention, this is just working in the background. Like I could still be creating a business and making my own money elsewhere. Do you know what I mean?
This is just money,
This is just there.
Yeah.
That's just a portfolio. I'm also now hopefully fucking, operating a big business and the comedy's popping off. There's that. I'm already worth fucking, 200K just from my businesses and stuff.
This is the season of locking in, man. It's the season of locking in. And I know that we've become more of a bro podcast this episode, but
yeah, we have.
And that it's part of it. And I think it's good that, young guys are thinking about stuff like this, thinking about, actually I do want to get in a bit of better shape and I want to get a little bit of money and get a bit more pride. And it's a good feeling. Like even the last week, me just doing a few push-ups and eating a bit cleaner, I feel like less of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I feel like less of a slob. And it's nice to feel a bit more pride in who I am and pride as a man, and feeling a bit more capable.
You got to try and push yourself, man. You got to get out of that comfort zone with everything. Even like this stuff here, this is uncomfortable for me because I know I'm in debt and I know I'm fucking poor.
Yeah.
And it feels uncomfortable to talk about it. And it feels... so at points it feels uncomfortable to ask questions that you think are stupid, but it's good. Now I know a lot of stuff, and now I'm, now I'm inspired to do some of that, and that could be life changing. And it's the same with you with fucking, getting some push-ups and getting some squats, and it's like that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to get up and do a push-up when you really don't want to, and you want to sit down and eat a load of shit.
Well, in the same way, the uncomfortable, you say it's uncomfortable to ask questions about it, but it's uncomfortable because I'm like, oh, you fucking go to the gym and you do Muay Thai and all this kind of shit. And I'm like, I did like 10 push-ups. I feel like it's self-conscious. But I'm like, no, but it's something. It's like, it doesn't, there's no stupid questions.
No, of course.
Because you're trying to better yourself.
And this is the thing that people don't realize often as well. Like, even like, Holly my girl was talking about getting into jiu-jitsu before. And I was really trying to push her to do it. I've done jiu-jitsu a handful of times. But I'm more of a boxing Muay Thai fan. But I was really trying to push her to do it, and she was always a bit like, which is fair. A lot of people feel this way, but I think it's quite a daunting task to go and do something like that, particularly as a woman, particularly as someone who's never really spent time in a martial arts gym before. So I think she was like very nervous to do it, and I was like, what you have to understand is anyone who has knowledge or experience in anything is the last person who's going to look at you and think you're an idiot for asking a question or for saying something dumb. Like when you walk into the gym, the biggest guy, unless he's a roid head cunt, 99% of the time is going to be the nicest geezer. And he's going to be the guy who's like championing you. And it's the same with someone who, and I'm sure if I spoke to a top investor, unless he was a sniffhead wanker who was just a prick, but most of them would be like, dude, you come from a working class background. This would be great for you, man. You should really do this. They champion you. Because they've been through the fucking, the struggles. There's like,
for sure.
It's only ever going to be a proper cunt who belittles you for trying to do something good.
100%. And it's so nice to be around other people that are like trying to uplift themselves in whatever way they can, whether it's getting healthier or getting a bit wealthier or whatever it is. Like, it's a great feeling. And like this stuff is life changing. And that's also why, like you said, you're trying to scale up, like the business thing a little bit, and obviously comedy is the main focus, and it's the same with me. Comedy's my main focus, and fortunate enough to be making money from comedy now. But I'm also, I'm still doing my work in the daytimes, and I'm still building up, that kind of situation too, because I want to scale my income even more. Because I'm trying to now, because I feel like I've spent 5 years being completely broke. Like I'm talking 500-600 quid a month just from hospitality. Because I was trying to be an artist and whatever. And now I'm like, all right, cool. I'm 30 now. I need to catch up. So now I'm just aggressively catching up, and I'm just out working and just fucking go, trying to make as much as I can so I can build up the nest egg I would have had I been working for the last X amount of years.
It's good, man.
That's the feeling, man. We've
got
to work hard.
Working hard as like, I just think like, not working hard and chilling is honestly overrated.
Massively.
It's overrated. And listen, don't get me wrong, I've done my fair share of doing fuck all, trust me. but the best I ever feel is when I don't have a minute to myself. And I often have days like that. But those are and again, this always goes back to the same thing, me and you. The demons creep in, brother.
Yeah.
The only time where I really sleep soundly is if I get up and go to the gym 6 a.m, go to Muay Thai, come home, go to the gym, come home, cook my pregnant girlfriend dinner, clean the house, go and run a couple of errands, then go and hit a gig, then come home and then get into bed at 11 o'clock and just pass out. That is peace right there. I think particularly as people like us, like driven young men who like have that urge to be like, I want to do something in my life. You got to go, go, go.
Yes, you do.
Chilling is the enemy of peace.
Can I show you one last thing before we go?
Yeah, what time's your gig today, by the way?
6:30. So
Okay,
I got to
cool.
leave in like 5.
Where are you heading to?
Old
Shoreditch.
Street. Yeah, Shoreditch.
Can you drop me around St. John's Wood somewhere?
I don't know if I go. I mean, I can check if I go.
Yeah,
through it. If I go through it, then
because I left my van.
This is really important for you specifically.
Yes.
So you know my boy Ash had his first son recently.
Yes.
My godson.
Yeah.
And we went on there, and I said this to him as well.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really, really helpful for you. So, and this is how you can actually have real life impact. So you're having a kid in June, right? Your little girl. If you open up, there's this thing called a junior ISA. It's basically like a trust fund, right?
Okay.
If you open up a junior ISA, the minimum initial amount in one go is £500, right? If for 18 years until she's 18, you and Holly each put a score in. That's it, just a score. So you each put a score in, which is £20 if you're not from England and you know what a score is.
Yeah.
So you each put in 20 quid a month. That's 40 quid a month, right? And you just up front you put in 500. Maybe that's a gift from friends and family, whatever it is. But you slap 500 in an account, and then until she's 18, every month you each just put a score in there.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is the S&P again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
When she's 18, she'll be worth nearly 30k.
Fucking hell, that
Tax-free.
is crazy.
Imagine what a leg up that is.
Now, what if I put £100 in a month? For
£100 in when she's 18, she'd be worth 65k, tax free.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Like, imagine what a leg up that is. Like, you know, I said this to my mum. I said it to my boy, Ash, because again, Ash has come from the same background as us.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like, imagine what a leg up that is. Like, even sticking 20 quid, 40 quid, whatever, into an account each month.
Yeah.
You know, when your kid's 18, they're worth 30 to 50k.
That's mad.
And then you can say to them, like, look, we've built this for you. If you want to take, and hopefully you've been teaching them about money as they grow up.
Yeah.
And teaching them about investing it, teaching them about how to, you know, earn whatever it is. So then you say to them, look, you know, we've put in 100 quid a month, and you've now got this amount.
Yeah.
If you want to take a little bit out, that's, you know, that's yours. And by the way, no one can touch it until they're 18. You can't withdraw anything.
Nice.
So if you get tempted, there's no risk because it's in there. You can say to her, look, this is now what for you to build on. So whenever you get any money, 10% of your money, you put it in there.
Yeah.
But then when she's 18, she might want to go traveling for a year.
She might want to buy a car.
She might want to buy a car, whatever it is. So she can take out, like, she's got that cushion there.
Yeah. That's huge. But my boy was like a child actor, and I mean, in adverts and stuff. He didn't. He wasn't like a proper actor, but he was like, he'd done some adverts and shit like that. And he, when he was 21, he got an account with like 12 grand in it. And I remember thinking, fuck, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And I don't think he really used it for anything important. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, he could have gone traveling for a year with that. He could have bought a car with that. He could have started a business with that if he wanted to. Let's say
rent for a year in an apartment.
Whatever it is. Like, let's say my daughter wants to be a fucking graphic designer. Right. That will cover a course for you to go and learn some stuff. Whatever it is, you can use that. And if you want to go and splash on traveling, do that. Whatever is going to make you happy. But I think at that point, when you're 18 to 20, having the freedom to do whatever you want at that point, that's why the gap year thing is so like, but it's like, I wish I did that.
Me too.
That would have been amazing.
Well, mate, think about it. I went to a private school with the kind of kids that do the gap year thing. Gap year thing.
Yeah.
I knew so many people that went on the gap year thing, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't afford it. So, and I would have loved to have gone to fucking
life-changing.
Thailand and Bali and Australia and whatever.
I think, like, I went to Thailand last year, and it was great, and it was a very cool experience. But I do think if you go somewhere, and it doesn't have to be Thailand, it could be Australia, it could be America, it could be Colombia, whatever. if you go traveling for a year at 18 to 20, I think that's life changing, because I think it just gives you a chance to fuck around maybe one last time before you try and figure your life out, and it just gives you a chance to meet people and develop social skills and see the world, and maybe see some third world places that makes you realize how lucky you are. And it's like at that age, those experiences I had last year, I feel like they would have been so much more impactful. Yeah. Whereas last year it was like, it was a cool holiday. I saw some cool shit. Yeah. It was pretty good. Yeah. I think at 20, something like that could change everything for you. And it just gives you another. I was talking to someone about this the other day. Going to uni and just even like traveling or whatever, it just gives you another year to be a fucking kid. It extends your innocence. That's why I'm so gutted I didn't go to uni. Not for the practical side of it. I just wish I could be a kid for a few extra
fucking
years.
Around getting £1 drinks and fucking
just being a little shit.
And fucking, I never got to do that.
I never got to do that. Like, so I left school at 17. I was thrusted straight onto a building site working my ass off for £60 a day. Yeah. And it's like, that's not nice. And then you understand the harshness of the world. You understand the harshness of working and earning not enough and paying bills. And it's like, you shouldn't do that at 17, 18. I think you should start doing that when you're 21. Yeah. I think up until that point, you should extend your youth and extend your innocence, which is why I'm going to be big on my daughter to go to uni for that reason and that reason only. I pray to God she finds something that she's really passionate about and she finds a course that she really cares about and wants to do. But fuck it. If you just go there, be a kid for as long as possible. And then you know what? If you turn 25 and you did a degree in history, but you don't care about history now you care about sociology, we'll try and figure that out. Then you can go learn about it then. But the main thing for me at that age is extend the fucking innocence, extend the youth. You know?
Interesting. I think that's a great note to wrap up on.
That was
great. Do you know what? This has been our longest episode. Do you know how long we've done?
It's not what?
2 hours.
Fucking hell. Yeah. I thought we went Rogan there. I thought we was gonna say like 3.5.
No, 2 hours. But
Jesus. Well, I'm gonna go and get sick in the O2 again now.
And I'm gonna go host a show.
I'm gonna go and watch Shane Gillis and get sick on someone again.
Well, everyone, I don't know how anyone would react. I don't know if people hated that.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate that.
Oh, fuck. I've got to really go.
Oh, fuck them. Let's go.
Hell. All right. Yeah. Like, subscribe. See you later. Get rich, get fit. Bye.